What up? What's happening? Good morning, DMV. Hope you had a good weekend. Happy Cinco de Mayo to all of you out there in our nation's capital and beyond. If you're tapped in with us on the always free Odyssey app, welcome. If you're listening on your AM dial on the Team 980, welcome. If you're live on the Team 980's YouTube page, you see myself and Mad Max. Mad Max with a new look this morning. I'm digging it. And
Why'd you have to bring it up?
You know, I did not say anything to you off air about if I was going to comment on your new look or not.
You didn't.
I love it.
I don't.
Fresh shirt coming in. Got the DOC on your shirt.
That's right,
love
baby.
to see it. We'll talk plenty about the burgundy and gold as we roll throughout the show this morning. Some massive news coming out of the White House. Unless you live under a rock, I'm sure you're already aware of what is expected to be announced. Has it already been announced? Has the meeting happened? Has the big orange man?
I don't know what because apparently the president has a press conference that's related to sports at 1:00 today.
Yeah.
But Axios has already put it out. Keim's already confirmed.
Oh, so it's not until 1. Okay. I thought I had saw that this wasn't set to get underway until 9 this morning. I thought it was a 9 a.m. thing. So it's not. Well, here's the news that we've been tap dancing around here. Massive news. Over the past couple of weeks, we've gotten some really good information in terms of RFK 2.0 and what is next for that land, what happens to it. We all know Josh Harris and company currently have a deal on the table that needs to be voted on, in which they're going to foot 76% of the bill would be the single largest public investment, in DC's history. It seems like the RFK 2.0 stuff is at the goal line, so to speak. This latest news that we're getting ready to give you acts almost as like a tush push for RFK 2.0, because guess what? You don't get the NFL draft coming to the National Mall in 2027 without there being some sort of guarantee that RFK 2.0 is going to go through. Yes, I said it. The 2027 NFL draft set to take place right here in our nation's capital. Ladies and gentlemen, super duper excited about that. They're going to have it on the National Mall.
It's going to be sick. The view's going to be crazy.
Oh, I can only imagine.
It's going to be a lot like the Cap Spray where they had the Capitol Dome in the background, but this time it's going to be the Washington Monument. It's going to be really, really cool. I'm excited. I think that the NFL has done a good job at using this 2027 draft as a little carrot.
Yes.
So I think that's going to get RFK pushed along quite well. Hopefully it's going to, the NFL's going to be like, see how much money that we're going to bring to your city if you build this new stadium? You're going to make it back in a year, 2 years, maybe?
For sure. And I think the draft, first of all, if you got to watch this year's spectacle out at Lambeau in Green Bay, just absolutely awesome. Packer fans are some of the most loyal fans in all of the NFL. And now that we're a winning team again, I can say that about you all. You all are some of the best fans in the National Football League as well. So I expect the National Mall to be on and popping. This is the thing about DC. The last 2 weekends, right here in Navy Yard over at the Bullpen, shout out our partners and pals at the Bullpen, hosting just big-time banger parties after big-time banger parties. People come out when there's an event. Think about how we treat Wizard games, right? It's the Mo Gala, as I like to call it. Everybody puts their freshest outfits on, and you step out with your significant other, and you show to other people around the DMV what you got. The draft is going to be that on steroids. Are you kidding me? And the fact that it's going to be in April, now hopefully let's think about the DMV. April sometimes could feel like November, depending on which April you're in. Hopefully in 2027, we get warm weather. It's going to be awesome, though, man. I can only imagine it. Think about it selfishly for us as media folks. Know what I'm doing in 2027? I'm covering the damn NFL draft, baby.
Know where I'm going to be.
You know what I'm saying? It's going to be super duper exciting. I wonder by that time, will Jaden Daniels have won an MVP or will he have won a Super Bowl? Then that's not like a call topic. What's more likely before the 2027 NFL draft comes right here to the DMV?
It's not bad.
It's not bad at all. I'm being a bad radio host. We're not actually going to take calls on that, but it was a good idea to bring up. But that is the big story from the weekend here locally. It was announced. First, I saw Axios on the scene, and then I got John Keim, the most seasoned member of that Commanders beat, confirming those reports last night. The 2027 NFL draft coming to Washington, D.C., going to be at the National Mall. I haven't been to the National Mall before, and I know.
What?
Yeah, I know.
You haven't been to so many places that are like,
I know. It's almost like I'm
word?
from Maryland or something.
Yeah. Well, it's required for like the DC experience. And I'm shocked that
I may have gone on a field trip.
I was going to say like field trip or something to a museum.
Once upon a time, I may have gotten it in on a field trip at the National Mall. I had a very good friend, female friend, take some pictures there for her graduation.
Oh, that is very popular spot.
Smashing pictures.
Very popular spot for graduation, prom, all that.
So speaking of prom, it is prom season, by the way.
That it is.
That's interesting, by the way.
Sure.
I have a whole prom story we can get into a little bit later on.
All right. Stay tuned, everybody.
In the show. But no, man, I'm just excited that we get to host a marquee big-time sporting event like this, man. I was thinking about it as I'm driving in, and we'll take your calls on this a little bit later on in the show. Like, somebody out there who's older than me, you can call us at 301-230-0980. You can tweet at Team980. You can tweet at NELL_BTP as well. What's the biggest professional sport event, I guess, is what the question is, that we've had here in D.C.? I think the All-Star game in 2001 probably is that. I don't know whether or not anything else massive has come here. Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese, very much like a thing. Well, no, that wasn't Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese. The Mystics hosting Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese would go up there, I would assume. Yeah, I don't know, man. I know maybe the All-Star game for baseball. We've hosted baseball.
2018 All-Star game. That was a fun time out at the bullpen.
Yes, it was. We hosted All-Star game for Major League Baseball. I don't know if hockey's ever had, All-Star weekend here in DC.
I don't think they have.
I know the NBA has for sure. That's when the celebrities used to actually come out to All-Star weekend.
Yeah.
Before they started putting on this pity party that they do for ratings and money. Shout out ratings and money. We love them both.
They're great.
But no, it got me thinking, man. All of a sudden, and this is what happens. This is what happens when you get competent ownership pressing the buttons on things, man. This is what happens. You get to reap the benefits of being a major professional sports market. And it felt like for years on the football side, we didn't get to, reap the benefits because of that rat-faced bastard, Dan Snyder. Shout out to our guy Denton Day, who coined the term rat-faced bastard when it comes to our guy, Daniel Snyder. But speaking of ownership, because that's where I initially go with this, we'll take your calls on your reaction to the draft being in DC in 2027 a little bit later on in the show. But right now, I think it's a very appropriate time, guys, to sit back, have a minute, and really give credit where credit is due. Our guy Mike H in the chat says, we're back. The NFL needed this marketing team to be you hit it right on the head. You segued me perfectly. Yes, that is what's most important here. We're back. Think about the blue blood franchises, the most recognizable franchises in all of professional sports. Yankees, Celtics, Lakers, Cowboys, Giants, Steelers, then Redskins was in that as well. So it is a really good day to know that finally the National Football League has kind of taken this dark cloud away from this franchise. For years, as a Commander fan, as a Washington football fan, anytime you're engaging in conversation, walk around with an umbrella above you because it's a dirty, rainy parade that people are going to pour on you. And over the past 18 months, and Max, during the next break, we got to officially find the exact date that sale went through so I can say this properly. I've been trying to put it this way. I don't think I've ever watched a professional sports owner have a better 18 to 20 months on the job than we've seen with our guy Josh Harris. Starts off with a banger buying us all brewskis out of the bullpen. That was awesome. So he endeared himself with the fan base immediately. But when you think about the uniform upgrade, you think about
God willing.
Yeah, God willing. Well, I don't know if you saw that leaked helmet.
I did.
With the yellow face mask.
That was a very minor change that I wasn't
I think,
super thrilled about.
Yeah.
Because I want the stripe on the helmet to be back to the way it was, the yellow, white, yellow.
Mm-hmm.
And sure, yellow face mask, that's fine. But that just homage to the old uniform. That uniform is probably one of the best in this town, in probably
in all the pro sports, bro.
In the NFL.
It was a clean, sleek look, man.
Iconic.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I think that's the best way that I could describe it. Because I'll be real, at first, Mike H says he wants the 91 uniforms. Exit the Matrix types in the chat and says this draft revenue of $500 million now costs DC nothing for the infrastructure of RFK 2.0. That's a damn good point. Everybody's thinking here.
See the carrot.
So our guy Exit the Matrix on in the YouTube chat says it's very smart for Bowser to do that. Does she get the credit for this? Or is this all three of these minds coming together?
She's parading around like she's going to get credit for it.
Well, what do we used to always talk about with Bowser with this? I knew she wanted to get this done. This is a legacy pull for her.
Absolutely.
As well. And I ain't mad at her. I ain't mad at her at all because I think in turn, right, we know the ancillary benefits that come along with a stadium development project, right? See Nats Park. And I think I was sitting in for Chris Russell last week when someone brought it to my attention. I wasn't even hit Mad Max. The learners ought to be a damn shame of themselves for not being willing to spend any cheese. That stadium don't even belong to them.
Yeah.
DC paid for all of that. And we still don't have a little bit of extra dough to kick out. Do better, Learner family. We'll talk about the Nats a little bit later on. They took 2 out of 3 versus Cincinnati this weekend, and they're playing pretty damn good. Couple games over 500 since that brutal opening week of the season. But the big news here this morning, set to be announced at around 1 p.m. Eastern time, via an official announcement from Donald Trump at the White House. According to multiple different reports, the NFL is bringing the NFL draft right here to our nation's capital in 2027. It'll take place on the National Mall. Plenty of benefits that come with that. Our guy Exit the Matrix in the YouTube chat talks about the revenue that the draft is going to bring here to our nation's capital. Does that eat into some of the cost of RFK 2.0, some of the public funding that's being asked to be kicked out? Speaking of RFK 2.0 for just a second here, went on about this a lot over the weekend. We're at a point right now where, like I said to start the show, RFK 2.0 is at the goal line, so to speak. I think, this draft news acts as a proverbial tush push, and we all know the success rate of the tush push. Let's just hope there's no Frankie Louvu coming over and hopping the damn line of scrimmage to stop this thing from happening. But I think, like you put it, Max, I love the way that you put it. It's a little carrot being dangled out there by the National Football League saying, hey, look, we're going to give you the draft. We'll get you a little extra money, but make sure through hell or high water that in 2030, that stadium's packed. We're probably going to host the Super Bowl champions. They probably break the rules for us.
That'd be nice.
Wouldn't it? But super excited about the NFL draft coming to our nation's capital. We'll talk about that more before we get out of this 10 o'clock hour. Big weekend around our nation's capital as well. Coming up in about 10 minutes or so, our pal John Walton, the play-by-play voice for your Washington Capitals, is going to join us right here on the Kevin Sheehan Show. I didn't even introduce myself. This is the Kevin Sheehan Show.
It is.
we are live and local on the Odyssey app or on YouTube as well. Kevin going to be back with you tomorrow. You all know who I am. You can see it on the YouTube chat as well. The youngest in charge, Lynnell, Willingham. I will take you up to 1 p.m. It was a big weekend, though. Like I mentioned, John Walton going to join us coming up at 10:30 to preview round number 2 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's going to be a chippy one. Caps, Hurricanes, 2 teams that don't like each other. If we rewind back to, I think it was March 8th, Max, when Connor McMichael hit the deck in brutal fashion.
I don't remember the exact date, but yes.
That was against Carolina.
It was against Carolina.
Then it led to my whole declaration of, hey, the hell with breaking that record up in New York. Come back home, do it against Carolina, a team that smacked you in the mouth a week prior. We all know what happened since, but I expect this to be a very, very physical second-round series. To the credit of the Washington Capitals, and we'll ask John Walton about this in great detail when he joins us at about 10:25. Credit to the Washington Capitals for a group that was not playing their best hockey leading into the postseason. I think this was the type of series, and tell me if you agree, Max, that instills confidence back into your fan base that, hey, look, I know it's not something you want to rely on in professional sports, but the Caps have the old finger button, is what I like to call it. They can flip the switch. They've officially shown that.
Mm-hmm.
I would say this about this team relative to, I guess, 2018 is the low-hanging fruit.
Sure.
Not a whole lot of comparisons you can make. But I think this team's most dangerous weapon, their secret sauce, so to speak, is their ability to score in bunches. It feels like they're never out of a game because they can go rally off 2 and 3 goals in a period. We've seen them go through these lulls as well where they do struggle to score, but the highs are much higher than the lows are low, is how I would describe it. The physicality of this series,
it's going to be
chippy.
It's going to be real chippy, and especially because it needs to be a chippy series for the Caps if they want to come out and win this series, because Carolina, they've shown throughout the regular season that if you can outmuscle them, they got nothing on
They
you.
will. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're bullies. They're bullies. Is how
exactly. So the Caps have got to come out, be super physical, run up the hits, get them, hearing footsteps even when they're not there. So, and I'm hoping that Logan Thompson can keep this playoff run going, because he's been lights out so far.
Yes, he has.
Credit to him, even after that injury where he was coming off the ice, not putting any weight on that leg in game 3. That was super concerning. And then he just came back out and he's been lights out. The Canes, though, on the other side of it, they are Freddie Anderson, their starting goaltender, who looks a little bit like me, is dealing with an injury. So they got Pyotr Kochetkov coming out in relief. And so that might be a little bit something that the Caps can kind of capitalize on. We saw it with Montembeault getting subbed in for Dobesh. Montembeault, by the way, double groin pull.
That's disgusting.
That's horrible. I can't imagine walking.
Yeah, seriously,
with 2 cold groins.
You probably could not walk. That's a freaking injury, if you ask me. You know what? The only thing I like about the Hurricanes is they have one of my favorite names to say in all of professional sports, because I love my guy Sean McDonough, who does the NHL's play-by-play
Very
on
good.
ESPN. Sebastian Aho.
Yeah.
I love me some Sebastian Aho.
There are 2 Sebastian Ahos in the NHL.
So am I talking about the other one then that plays for New York?
Does he still play for New York? It was New York and it was Carolina.
Because I remember, quick story, I was auditioning to be an anchor on CBS Sports Radio. And one of the things I had to do in my fill-in shift was, or my audition shift was, do updates for a night. And Sebastian Aho's, and it was playoff time, and McDonough had a crazy call, and I was saying, saying, uh-oh. But, yeah, you pick up what I'm putting down. So there are 2 dudes with the exact same name?
With the exact same. It's very fun. One.
That's ridiculous.
The one who plays in Carolina is Finnish. The other one who plays in New York is Swedish.
So I'm talking about the New York Sebastian Aho then.
No, Sebastian Aho. I think we're talking about the one in Carolina, right?
I think. So are there 2 or are there 1? That's what
there
I'm trying
2.
to pick up. Where does the other one play at?
New York
and Carolina.
And Carolina.
We'll figure that out during the break, because that is absolutely ludicrous.
It's very weird.
But there was a lot of hubbub over the weekend about, well, when's the schedule going to come out for Caps and Hurricanes? I'll be real with you, NHL. Why was it so difficult for you to create the schedule? They're the team with the second best record in hockey. Put their ass in prime time. That's it.
That's the thing. I really wanted the Blues to beat the Winnipeg Jets last night,
because that would have allowed
I wanted
Stanley
them to
Cup playoffs to go through DC as well, right?
Yeah. So game 6, the NHL was like, if Winnipeg closes it out tonight, you guys will probably play Sunday night. So they would have played in the spot that game 7 played in.
Yeah. Right.
But since Blues forced game 7 in a dominant fashion, by the way.
Yes.
So now Caps playing Tuesday. It'll be a dogfight for the series, and I'm looking forward to it.
You know what a dogfight's made for? Doggy.
That's right, baby.
Brandon Duham, my guy.
That's right.
A lot more to get to. On the Kevin Sheehan Show, you're tapped into the youngest in charge, Lynnell Willingham. I'm sitting in for a guy, Kevin. We'll take you up to 1 p.m. Eastern time before the cockle-doodle-doo machine himself, Chris Russell, takes you from 1 to 4. A lot more to get to before we get out of here. The big news of the morning, the NFL draft coming to Washington, D.C. in 2027 on the National Mall. We'll touch on that before we get out of this opening hour as well. When we come back, though, the Caps talk continues. The play-by-play voice of your Washington Capitals, John Walton, joins us next to preview round number 2. It's Team 980. We're always live and free on the Odyssey app as well. It's a Kevin Sheehan show. We'll take you up to 1 p.m. Eastern time. Number to call is 301-230-0980. You're tapped into the youngest in Charles, Lynnell Willingham, sitting in for our guy Kevin Sheehan as we talk all things DC sports as we take you around the DMV. Busy weekend here in our nation's capital. We had the big news off the top. The NFL draft coming to Washington, D.C. in 2027. It'll be on the National Mall. So super, super duper geeked up for that. And I'll continue to reference the chat. You can check us out on YouTube as well. The Team 980's YouTube page is where we're live and free as well. All right, Exit the Matrix said $500 million, the cost of the infrastructure for RFK 2.0. That probably gets covered with the NFL draft coming here to D.C. in 2027. So everything starting to make a lot more sense. One big hot button topic over the weekend was, well, when the hell is this Caps playoff schedule coming out? When does that happen? When do we know when game one starts? That will be Tuesday. And joining us right now via the guest hotline to talk about game number one of round number 2 in the Stanley Cup playoffs is our guy, John Walton, the play-by-play voice for your Washington Capitals on 106.7 The Fan, the Washington Capitals radio network. John, what's going on, my man? How are you?
Lynnell, I am good, sir. We got the second round coming up. Couldn't be more excited. Left for the Stanley Cup. Let's get this thing going. It's been too long.
I was saying it to super producer Mad Max before we got things kicked off this morning. To you, knowing the way this team finished the regular season, knowing how things went to end the year, you were losers of 4 out of 6. How impressed were you with their ability to quote unquote flip the switch in round number 1?
I mean, I was impressed. I wouldn't say that I'm surprised just because this team, amazingly, didn't have a lot to play for in the last 2 months. And I think when you look at what the Florida Panthers did in their last 10 games, I think they were like 4-5-1. I mean, a lot of the teams that were coming down the stretch, the field was settled pretty quickly. The only thing that wasn't was the second wild card. Montreal ended up finishing very strongly because they had to, otherwise they weren't getting in, and Columbus would have been in.
Yeah.
But I wasn't surprised at all. I mean, I think with where they have been all season, they've been one of the most consistent teams in the NHL all year. And I was talking with Tom Wilson just yesterday about some of the years past. Like, I wanted to talk to a veteran guy. It's like, you guys, for the most part in Tom's time here, it's not been easy, like 6 games, a lot of 7 games, game 7s and all that. This was very business-like, where they said, you know what, we're the better team. And it was a tough series. I'm not saying it was easy. Montreal's a really good team. They're going to be good for a long time. But they took care of business. They got it done in 5. If you look back over the last 15 years, that hasn't happened very much. Even when they won the Cup, they were behind in every series. So really impressed how they did that. And I think this series might be the toughest they have. Even if they won the Cup, this might be the toughest of all of them coming up right now.
We were, getting a little mini preview in before we brought you on, John. Physicality going to be the name of the game in this one. We all know what happened in that early April game against Carolina when Connor McMichael gets slammed to the ice. Would you go out and say that, these two teams are, I guess, rivals at this point? They split the regular season series at 2 games apiece. And then the last game that we saw was uber physical. Am I putting the chicken before the egg here when I call them rivals?
It's kind of funny. Yeah, I would think the short version's yes. And I think, and all kinds of respect, what Carolina's done. Rod Brindamore is an unbelievable coach. What they've done the last 7 years, they were in kind of a hockey wasteland for about 7, 8, 9 years before that. They weren't drawing very well. They weren't playing very well. But they always look at Washington like, oh, that's our rival because they were the closest team. And the Caps are like, yeah, that's cute. Like, I mean, you've got, the Rangers, the Penguins, the Flyers. I mean, those old Patrick Division teams. But I do think that's changed a little bit just because they are very good. And they beat the Caps in that double overtime game in Game 7 in 2019. Mm-hmm. And, the thing that's interesting is that a lot of people are going to point to in this series is, the Caps they have trouble playing in Raleigh. Well, they did, but for the last 2 years, I haven't had dinner in Raleigh in almost 3 years because every time we go, it's the second half of a 2-2. We get in at 2 a.m. Yeah. You don't have a morning skate, and you play at 5 o'clock, and they've been sitting there waiting for us. And that's happened every time, 4 times in the last 2 years we've gone down there. So I don't put any stock in that. I put a lot of stock in how Carolina's playing right now. Spoiler alert, they're playing really well.
Yeah.
But the Caps are playing very well. And I think it's going to be potentially the best second-round series there is. It's not Washington-Pittsburgh year 2016, 17, 18, but it is pretty close to that. And I think whatever team gets out of this, if Carolina beats Washington, I'm going to say Carolina might be the favorite to win the Cup.
Wow.
If Washington gets out of this, I'm going to say Washington's the favorite to win the Cup because I like the way they match up with Toronto. I like the way they match up with Florida. I like the way they match up with Edmonton. I like the way they match up with Vegas. So, and Winnipeg has really hurt them. They barely got out of their first round last night. So I really like the way this is shaping up if the Caps can find a way to beat Carolina.
Joined right now by the play-by-play voice of your Washington Capitals, our guy John Walton. You give him a follow on the X app at John Walton PXP. John, the most impressive player to me in the opening round was Logan Thompson. When you think about the injury that he suffered early in that series, and there was some doubt, about whether or not he'd be available. I don't think he was able to put any weight on that leg as he was leaving the ice. He returns, comes back in net, and has been absolutely awesome. Is he the hottest tender right now in the NHL? And how impressed have you been with his ability to kind of overcome the injury bug here?
I've been incredibly impressed. And if you break down all the analytical numbers, and math was never my strong suit, but when you look at all of the numbers, they have him as the second best goalie in the first round of every team. That's 16 teams, more than 16 goalies, and they've got him at number 2. So I really believe that he was as advertised. He came up with a big save as he did. He's played as well now. Funny enough, he left Vegas, right? So Vegas gets out of the first round, but the guy he shared the net with, Adin Hill, ranked 14 in goalies in the first round, and Logan ranked number 2. I just thought that was funny. That, yeah. So I mean, I would never ask Logan. I don't mess with the goalies this time of year. I don't even ask him for interviews because I don't want to bother him with anything. But if I was talking to Logan today, that'd be the first thing I'd ask him. Is said, "You going to tell me that doesn't affect you?"
Right.
I think it does, in a good way. But the Caps to be able to go out and get him and cement him as a goalie. He's been fantastic. He made all the big saves when they needed him, especially in Game 3 and 4, or in Game 4 in Montreal, and then in Game 5 back here. So, yeah, really excited to see what he can do. Against probably Freddie Anderson, who got hurt in the first round but came back. We'll see how good he is. The goalie's going to be a big focus in this series.
100%. Something else I'll look at as well, John, is the power play attempts and how successful they are. You had 5 power play attempts in this opening round. The Caps were 3 for 5. How would you describe the advantage right now, and how key do you think it'll be in this second round series?
Lynnell, I'm glad you brought it up because I think it's the key to the whole series. And the reason is Caps power play was not very good against Montreal, and the penalty kill, statistically anyway, I know that some on the kill have suggested, hey, listen, like if you break it down, there's a lot of good fortune that went into what Montreal did. But the truth is they had 5 power play goals.
At the end of the day, right?
Special teams. Right. I mean, listen, results matter, and you've got to be better on both, right? Whether it be penalty kill or power play, because power play for Carolina is very, very good. So there is discipline. There is riding that line without going over it. You've got to be physical, but don't take dumb penalties. Don't give these guys extra chances. And when you get your own chances, make the most of them, because they really didn't in the first 4 games. They beat Montreal at 5-on-5. And Montreal, they were clearly a better team than Montreal.
Right.
They are not clearly a better team when you play Carolina. So the special teams are going to matter even more in this series. And I think that's something that we're going to have to really have a focus on when this series starts tomorrow night and throughout the series. Who's winning the special teams battle? It better be Washington. If they want to move on, it has to be.
You mentioned, John, walking that tightrope of wanting to maintain that physicality, being big brother, so to speak, and then not going over the edge. I thought, in the series finale, in the opening round, that they did a really good job of that. It feels like as that series waned on, they got more and more physical and the intensity ratcheted up. Knowing the way the games went during the regular season versus Carolina, do you think there's like an extra chip on Washington's shoulder to come out and be the aggressor and try and set the tone early in this thing?
I mean, I don't know that it has as much to do with what happened when they were in Carolina last on April 2nd. I mean, certainly that's going to be in their mind. I think, in a playoff series, you always come out and you want to be pretty physical in the early going anyway.
Right.
I think it's going to be quicker to get there because of that. But I think the eye on the prize here is that you've got to play within yourself. And I think the best example of that is Tom Wilson, veteran player, loves to play on the edge, loves to mock the other team from time to time, as we saw. And, all of that occurring in a manner that, I think he really self-corrected and said as much. He said, look, game 3 was not a good game for him in that regard. And he said that. He's, look, I was on, I'm paraphrasing a little, but he was on tilt. He was, not, you can't wait. Tom Wilson is way too important to this team for him to spend 17 minutes in the penalty box. And he did in game 3. So he self-corrected. He drew other teams into penalties. And they were better in game 4. They were good on special teams in game 5, and they won. But I think following Tom's example is what they need to do. And I think that's very important throughout the series. You're going to get some aggression right away, but playing within that's going to be very, very, very vital.
John, you've been doing this for a very long time, and we have, throughout this year, amidst the chase of the goal-scoring record, the other big-time talking point and storyline is just how much this year's team really is, connected in the synergy that they have. How important is that in the postseason, John? And I know it may seem like a low-hanging fruit question, but how important is team chemistry come postseason time when, everything is a little bit more important and the stakes are ratcheted up a little bit?
I think it's the most important time of the year for that. And this team is as good as I've ever seen. And it's wanting to battle through pain. Listen, there's a lot of pain this time of year. There's got to be will and want. And anything short of that, I'm not going to call out any specific Toronto Maple Leafs, but there have been a couple of guys when I watch their series, I'm like, the will and want's not there. Like, they're tremendous players, but I need more in crunch time. And that's what I see this team do. I see Connor McMichael relentless. I think he's absolutely ratcheted up offensively to another level. Nobody plays a perfect game this time of year. There's so many ebbs and flows to a playoff game. From the moment the puck dropped in game 1, I love his game. I love his intensity. I love his skating ability. And you're playing for the guy in the locker stall next to you as much as you're playing for yourself. And I think we've seen that. I think we'll continue to see that. I think against Carolina, you need to see that. I think Carolina does that. They play for their coach and they play for each other. That's a damn good hockey team over there in Carolina. I've been really impressed. They made a playoff 7 straight years now. There was a time they were out in the wilderness. They're not. They are a legit Stanley Cup contender, even with some of the moves they made in midseason that didn't work out for them. Right now, they're playing great, and they play for their coach. They play to an identity that is right in your face all the time. And the Caps going to have to be ready for that. But that's where that chemistry comes in. That's where that playing for your brother next to you certainly, is a big part of what goes on here.
For sure. I definitely agree with you. I think during football season, a lot was made of the Commanders' chemistry, John, and how that helped them kind of outkick their coverage in terms of, getting everybody to play their absolute best. I think you could say the same about this Washington Capitals group. John, is there an X factor in this series or a guy that must play well for Washington to come away with this thing?
I think, there's always guys that rise to the occasion and score big goals. Brandon Duhaime, I think, was that guy in round 1. I think when you look at this lineup, the guy that sees a lot of ice time that I know had a great year offensively and didn't see as much from, but I think in this series he's going to get a lot of hard minutes against Carolina, and it's defense first. But I think Pierre-Luc Dubois, maybe a little bit more offensively. And I think, people look at what he did in the first round stats-wise, and they say, oh, he didn't do very much. And I say that's just not true. I mean, he was tasked, and Spencer Carberry has said this, with defensive assignments to be able to shut down. Montreal essentially is a one-line team. They're a very good first line, but if you can shut them down, and he was tasked with that a lot of D-zone starts. You're not going to get as many offensive chances. In this series, he's going to be tasked with a lot of the same things, but I think finding some offense. I feel like this should be a really big series for number 80. I think he's, we kind of saw the beginning of the year where he was a little quieter. but he still ended up with 20 goals and a career high in points, and a lot of it came late in the year. I think getting his legs underneath him defensively and now maybe exploiting some of those offensive opportunities, I think that this could be a big series for him. That's one thing I'm going to look for.
Game 1 set for tomorrow night, live from Capital One Arena. You can hear the call, all 106.7 The Fan, the Washington Capitals Radio Network. John Walton, Ken Sabrin. John, we appreciate you making some time for us this morning, man. Looking forward to hearing you tomorrow night on the call.
Yeah, you bet, Lynnell. Can't wait. Our time of year. Can't wait to get it going.
Yes, indeedy. One of the absolute best. Talking all things puck. Our pal John Walton. Give him a follow on the X app at John Walton PXP. I call him Johnny Pipes because he's got the best voice in the industry, in my opinion. Is he still on the line? Can you hear what I'm saying? I'm embarrassed.
I can hear that. That's good.
That's good.
That's good, though.
You're my man, though, Johnny. You're the man. Golly.
Thanks, Lynnell. I appreciate that.
For sure. Dang it, Max. Now you embarrassed me in front of Johnny. No, I absolutely love hearing John Walton on the call, man. His call of Alex Ovechkin breaking the goal-scoring record, going to live in infamy around here. Him and Joe Beninati, the voices of Capitals hockey throughout my childhood, I would say. Some of the absolute best. I'm just excited for them that they get to call big-time hockey again. And that 2018 run, that goal, or excuse me, that final call when they won the cup in 2018 from John Walton will forever.
Yeah.
It's going in the lore.
Eller for the draw. I relive it in my head every time I hear him. And just, having John on, it's a shame what the NHL does in terms of like regional sports networks when you get to the second round, because after the second round, it becomes national exclusive. So TNT and ESPN will carry it the rest of the way. So we won't get John or we won't get Joe or Craig anymore, which is unfortunate.
Which is tough,
I love hearing them. They'll be doing pre and post games. If you want to tap into that on Monumental, please do. But yeah, having John on the call like throughout the playoffs, it adds local flair, and I mean, there's very few who do it better.
None that do it better. Very thankful that he was able to make some time for us this morning. We'll take a quick time out. When we come back, more of the Kevin Sheehan Show. Lynnell Willingham sitting in for our guy, Kevin. He's back with you tomorrow. We take you up to 1 p.m. as we do Monday through Friday here on this program. We'll take a quick time out. When we come back, we'll revisit the big news that technically hasn't happened yet. Noon Eastern time, a big announcement, 1 p.m. Eastern time, a big announcement expected to come from the White House. That announcement, the NFL draft coming right here to our nation's capital in 2027. More details on that next here on the Team 980.
All right, that news is right. The NFL draft will be coming to Washington, D.C. in 2027. Early reports indicate that they intend to have the draft on the National Mall in front of the Washington Monument. This weekend, the Nats take 2 over the Cincinnati Reds. They win last night 4-1. C.J. Abrams continues his 10-game hit streak, and Mackenzie Gore pitched 5 innings, 1 earned run, and 9 strikeouts. Michigan head coach Sharon Moore will serve a school-mandated 2-game suspension to begin the 2025 college football season related to the Connor Stallion sign-stealing incident. He became 7s over the weekend. The NBA Nuggets move on over the Clippers, 120-101, and the Warriors dominated the Rockets last night, 103-89. The Nuggets will move on to face the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Warriors will take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Stars beat the Avs 3-2 after trailing 0-2 in the third. Mikko Rantanen dropped a third-period hat trick to slay his former team to lift the Stars over the Avs 3-2. Winnipeg Jets beat the Blues in double overtime last night after scoring 2 goals to tie it in the final minute. This update is sponsored by the Team 980 YouTube page. Just open the app, type in the Team 980, and hit subscribe. Kevin Sheehan is live from 10 to 1, and Craig Hoffman from 4 to 7. Don't forget to like the stream and turn on notifications to stay up to date on all things DC Sports. And that's what's trending.
Those 2027 draft picks going to be hopping off the plane at DCA as the 2027 NFL draft comes to the National Mall, Mad Max. I'm excited for it, baby.
Is it going to be DCA or is it going to be Dulles?
It's probably going to be Dulles.
Probably Dulles.
Probably going to be Dulles.
Probably a nice long drive into the city.
Get to see all the monuments, get to see all the surrounding tourist attractions. If you've been living under a rock, wake up. It's Monday. Get you some coffee. Actually, you don't have to get you some coffee. Get you something that'll wake you up.
Like Matt, this radio show?
Like this radio show.
See?
Bright and early for you here in the morning. Myself, Mad Max.
10 a.m. bright and early on a Monday, baby.
Let's do it. Sitting in for my guy, Kevin Sheehan. He's back with you tomorrow. We'll take you up to 1 p.m. Eastern time. Big thank you to our guy, John Walton, for joining the program. If you missed any of my conversation with the play-by-play voice of the Washington Capitals, you were in luck. Download the always free Odyssey app. Use the Odyssey Rewind feature and go back to the 1025 segment to get a preview of Caps and Hurricanes. Keeping things local, though. The big news that we started off the show with, Donald Trump expected to make an announcement at the White House at about 1 p.m. Eastern time. The 2027 NFL draft, according to multiple different outlets, coming right here to our nation's capital, will take place on the National Mall. And it's crazy because it kind of segues us perfectly here. And if you all want to line up on the phones, we'll take your calls at 301-230-0980. Now that we know the draft is coming to our nation's capital, Exit the Matrix in the chat, as well as our guy Mad Max pointing out that, the revenue that you're going to get from hosting the NFL draft, I would think, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but it makes the most sense to me, I would think that cuts into some of the public cost that it's going to take to build RFK 2.0, which we know is now at the goal line when it comes to, how close we are to getting this thing done. If you're not familiar with the numbers of the situation, DC and the taxpayers only asked to come up off of 24% of the total cost. That means Josh Harrison Company going to foot 76% of the bill. It is the single largest public investment in DC's history. And when you look at the other stadium deals that have been done across the National Football League over the past 6-7 years, by far, this is the fewest that the public has been asked to invest. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I've long said it. And Max, I'm glad that I'm with you today because I feel like when we first started working together not too long ago, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, this was like at the forefront of conversation. And I felt like I was the outlier with my thought process. Because what did I say? I don't want this stadium here unless, what was my old quote that we were putting on T-shirts? Unless Josh Harris and his 21 limited partners put their money where their mouth is. You've got 21 limited partners. DC shouldn't have to come up off of much of nothing. And to me, the split that I was talking about financially, they completely said, put this in your pipe and smoke it, Lynnell. I was talking about a 60-40 split to where, Josh Harris and the Commanders foot about 60% of the bill, and then the DC taxpayers responsible for the other 40. They said, hell nah. We'll take 76%. You take the 24%. Despite those numbers, though, Max, there is still some reservations and doubts amongst council members that this vote actually, goes through the finish line, so to speak, because, of course, the D.C. government, from my vantage point,
it's politicking.
They're being greedy, man.
It's not even that. It's just how politics works, man. It's
you got a counter offer.
It's quid pro quo. It's like you do this, you do this, but you got to do this for me.
It frustrates the hell out of me, Max, because I had a caller over the weekend say something that, resonated with me so much. And I think there are too many people in favor of this happening for it not to finish. So let me just preface it by saying that. I think it happens. I think it gets done. If for some reason, though, this deal is not completed, it would be the biggest fumble in the city's history.
Yeah, and we're coming off
Seriously.
we're coming off of one like with Ted too,
right.
Like the move to Virginia,
right.
just helmet right on the football type fumble.
I'm about to say, man, like see ball, get ball, ball is life. You know what Joe Witt Jr. says, but no, like I think when you consider what Josh Harris and company are doing, and kudos to them. I opened up the show by saying this. I don't remember a professional sports owner having a better first 2 years on the job than Josh Harris and company have had.
Can you believe that?
I know.
It hasn't even been 2 years.
Yes.
It was July of 2023. Yes. We are in May of 25 right now.
So we're at the 22-month mark about.
Yeah.
But look at me doing math.
You.
We're at the 22-month mark, and he has completely put his fingerprints all over this franchise. It is very clear and obvious that Josh Harris is for the people, man. I think he showed us that right away, buying us the brews out of bullpen and the brewery that we were at out in Virginia. I'm completely blanking on the name right now, Mad Max, for whatever reason. Where are we at out in Virginia?
Listen, man, I was in this room. I don't know.
Okay, bet. So, but no, I think it's absolutely awesome, that Josh Harris and company have done this. To me, this stadium piece of it and his willingness to go in his own pockets, I think says a lot about him as a man, and I think he gets it. Here's my thing that I've always said. He gets it. You have an opportunity here with this new stadium, because look at what Nats Park did for Navy Yard.
Mm-hmm.
You have an opportunity here with this new stadium to revitalize that area, to help out those that are less fortunate. So at that point, Max, for me, it's not about looking at Josh Harris as just an owner. He now will be looked at as one of the great philanthropists of the DC area.
Absolutely.
This is going to be talked about. His name will be etched in stone. He'll be a talking point long after Jaden Daniels has thrown his final touchdown pass, long after Jazon Newton's had his final sack, long after Mikey Sainristil called his final pick here in Washington. So I think he gets it, and I just hope that we all as fans appreciate what this is, because is it safe to say? This will be one rich-ass honeymoon, by the way. We're still in the honeymoon phase of our marriage with one Josh Harris. He hadn't done anything that's ticked people off. He has. The name thing. The name thing has got a lot of you worked up. I dig it. I understand what you're saying. But
name thing's never going to happen.
It's never going to happen.
Never going to happen.
And I love that he said it with his chest poked out. A tent hut. It's not happening. I'm the boss of this thing. I control what goes on. We're not going back to the name. We were talking about it earlier, Max, the uniform rebrand potential.
Mm-hmm.
During the NFL draft, there was a leak.
Yes,
there was a leak. And there was a Commander's helmet, burgundy, and it had a yellow face mask on it. Now, if you remember the former Redskins helmet, that's what it was famous for, that yellow face mask, that burgundy and gold contrast. Spicy, bro. You know what's crazy? I think as kids growing up, bro, like, I don't think I appreciated the uniform.
No.
For how crisp and clean it was, because I wanted the black uniform. The first jersey I ever got gifted to me, shout out my Aunt Vicky, was a black LaRon Landry jersey.
Ooh.
Remember they were making those like kind of alternate jerseys?
Yeah.
I had me a LaRon Landry Dirty 30 in the black. And I just felt like as I got older, I started to appreciate the look a little bit more. And then when they took it away and they went to the new jerseys, I didn't understand all the hubbub and the fuss at first, because I'm like, it's still burgundy and gold. But people started saying, well, we look like the Cardinals. And I said, well, you're damn right. I didn't like the number patterning on it. I think it's awesome that he is, doing his best to get the best of both worlds, so to speak, talking about Josh Harris, leaning into the rich history and tradition of this franchise, while also understanding that it's his job to usher in a new sector of Commanders fans. I would say us included, but we're not new. We've been here.
No, we've been around. We're the ushers of the new era.
Yeah. Yes. We're the leaders of the new school. No
That's
pun
right.
intended, man. I absolutely love where things are trending with this franchise. Mike H said it in the chat earlier today. He said, we're back. The NFL needs this market and team to be relevant again. Yes, they do. And I think we're well on the way to that. Little programming note for you. Coming up 11 days from now, right here on the Team 980, from 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern time, I believe it is our schedule release show. Look who is on the schedule release show graphic for the NFL, Jaden Daniels. So if that doesn't show you where this franchise currently sits and how favorably, the National Football League is looking at him, I don't know what does. Speaking of Jaden Daniels, we will get into the reigning, defending offensive rookie of the year coming up in the 11 o'clock hour, because I'm going to go out on a limb and say this, Mad Max. And I'm a sicko. I need my fix after a while.
Are you defending the award if you can't win it again?
Well, no. But
we'll figure I'd ask the question.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that point. But the thing that I'm a sicko, like I continue to say, we haven't gotten to watch a live Commanders football game since the end of January. It's 4 months damn near.
It's been.
So I've been
my withdrawals have subsided finally.
Using the old NFL Plus app, going back and rewatching things. it just serves as a reminder. And I think we need to remind the fans this. And I'm going to preface all of my training camp, off-season program, lofty expectations with this. I think we as a fan base are very, very, I don't even want to say sleep. I guess we forget just how good, just how excellent Jayden Daniels was last year. And as we get geared up for the offseason program, rookie minicamp starts this weekend, OTAs start in 3 weeks. As we get closer to that, remember, we have Jayden Daniels under center, ladies and gentlemen. First hour in the books, right here on the Kevin Sheehan Show. We'll take you up to 1 p.m. Eastern time. We will take a quick time out, pay some bills. When we come back, top of the 11 o'clock hour, a lot to get to. We'll open up the phones as well at 301-230-0980. Commanders rookie minicamp begins on Friday. OTAs begin in 3 weeks. I'm excited to see the rookies. Who has the most to prove, though, heading into the offseason program? We'll chew on that next here on the Team 980. 11:03 Eastern Time in our nation's capital as we take you around the DMV. We're always live and free on the Odyssey app as well. It's Kevin Sheehan Show right here on the Team 980. Youngest and Charles Lynnell Willingham sitting in for our guy Kevin. A lot to get to here in this 11 o'clock hour. We'll hand things over to our pal Chris Russell, top of the 1 o'clock hour, as he'll take you to 4 p.m. A lot more to get to, as I mentioned. We were talking about the big news of the morning. Seismic news for the DMV, specifically DC. The NFL is going to bring the 2027 NFL draft right here to our nation's capital, out at the National Mall, right here in Washington, D.C. in the year 2027. I'm super duper excited for that and what it could do from a revenue, standpoint for the D.C. area. And I keep shouting our guy out in the chat, Exit the Matrix, talking about how that revenue that you're going to pick up from the draft, that revenue that you gain from the draft, that helps you for sure when it comes to RFK 2.0 and trying to foot that bill, giving you a little bit of extra resources to make the cost for the DC taxpayer a little bit less. So super excited about that. It feels like after a really really short offseason, I guess is the best way to put it, we're finally back on football. This was the first time in my lifetime that, watching the draft, there was thought, well, is my team going to pick? Is my team, is the broadcast going to be on while my team is picking? As Washington picked 29th this year after punching their ticket to the conference title game. Everything about this offseason has been different, including the calendar kind of creeping up on us. I mentioned in the last segment that the schedule release happens 11 days from now, May the 16th. You can hear our coverage of the 2025 schedule release right here on the Team 980. I'll be anchoring that for us. But the schedule release is here already in 11 days. And then coming up Friday, through hell or high water, rain, sleet, snow, rookie minicamp is underway. Washington had 5 draft picks that they selected in this year's draft. All 5 of those cats, plus the UDFAs, are going to be on full display in Ashburn Friday through Sunday for mandatory rookie minicamp. I don't need to put mandatory. What rookie is going to skip out on minicamp? Chase Young. Anyway, look at you. You didn't think it was possible for me to take a shot at Chase Young, did you?
With how bad you wanted him this offseason, I didn't think you would.
We'll see what happens with our old guy, 99, down in New Orleans this year. But no, rookie minicamp gets underway this weekend. Because that's happening, numbers have been announced on social media, Mad Max. I don't know if you've seen this.
Yes.
Numbers have been given out. I'm super excited about this. To me, one number sticks out in particular, and I'll go through all of them. The Commanders on their official Twitter page, their official X page, put out the free agent, Twitter pages, put out the free agent numbers. They also put out the rookie class numbers as well. The first-round pick, Josh Connolly, going to wear number 72. It's crazy. The last 72 that was a junior was also the left tackle. Well, this guy's going to be the right tackle. It was our guy, Charles Lynnell.
That's right.
Not bad. Big Lynnell wasn't terrible while he was here in Washington. It feels like we all dunk on Charles a little bit more than we should. But that's the number for the first-round pick, number 72. The second-round pick, Trey Amos, this gets really interesting. Number 23.
I love it.
Now, the 23 jersey number at defensive back here in D.C. has been damn good. Most notably, D'Angelo Hall. I mean, what he was able to do during his time in Washington, I think when we acquire Lattimore, it's like the first big-time corner that we've had since D. Hall. I don't all the way count Josh Norman for the lack of production. But Trey Amos, the second-round pick out of Ole Miss, going to wear number 23 during the regular season. Washington's fourth-round pick out of Virginia Tech, the speed demon, I think it's fitting what number he's wearing.
Mm-hmm.
He's wearing 83. Now, if you've paid attention to Jalen Lane during this pre-draft process, long before he knew he was going to be a member of the Commanders, one of his favorite wide receivers is Scary Terry. We know what number Scarence Terrence wore at the Ohio State University. It was number 83. So very fitting that he's going to get to don that number. I wonder how Terry feels about that. Why did Terry want to wear 83?
It was his number in college, too.
Jalen Lane.
Yeah.
It was. Maybe it was his number because it was Terry's number. All in all, thank you for putting that together for me, Max. I actually didn't realize that. But I'm excited about Jalen Lane. Him and Kane Medrano, the fifth-round pick, rather, out of UCLA, the two cats of this draft class that I'm most intrigued by. Love Josh Connolly, obviously. Love Trey Amos, obviously. But when it comes to Jalen Lane and Kane Medrano, I think they have a real impact as a real chance rather to make an impact as mid-round picks. For Kane Medrano, this is where things get interesting. He's going to don number 56 to start. I know what people are thinking. The first 56 you think of when you think of the Washington, then Redskins is what? Perry Riley? Joke. Obviously, LeVar Arrington. But seeing Kane Medrano where 56 was interesting to me, Max, because it's more of a linebacker number.
It's more of a linebacker number, and 56 is also a number I expect a lot of tackles from.
Yeah, right.
Which is kind of the whole thing with Kane is his tackling. So I'm not stoked about it, but I want to see where he goes from here.
The one thing, and shout out to the Commanders in very fine print at the bottom, jersey numbers are subject to change prior to the regular season. So that is the saving grace for Kane Medrano. I don't want him playing much linebacker this year. I'm telling how it T.I.
Yeah.
I don't. I look at his body type, 6'3", 225 pounds. Knowing what you lost this offseason at the safety spot with Jeremy Chin, 94% of your defensive snaps, your second leading tackler. I think Kane Medrano has the body type, has the speed, and has the fearlessness to potentially come in and compete at that strong safety spot. I've been on my soapbox about the safety position ever since the draft ended, if you're just now tapping in with your boy. I continue to believe it's the biggest position of need in terms of where you got to bring in some outside help. I know they brought in Will Harris.
Not a fan?
Yeah, not that big. Not that I'm not a fan. It's that I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah.
When you consider the contract that was levied out to him, when you consider that he's been a spot starter in this point in his career, how can you trust him to replace a guy that, like I mentioned, accounted for 94% of the snaps? So I envisioned Kane Medrano, the rookie linebacker safety hybrid out of UCLA, coming in and being able to play some of that Buffalo nickel, quote unquote, or the star position is what they call it in this defense, I believe. So yeah, him wearing 56 lends itself to him playing a lot more linebacker, because that would be dirty, nasty, and trifling. If I saw somebody in the secondary wearing number 56, pew, pew, pew.
Low-key, I'd love it. I'd lose my mind. It would be so gross, but I'd love it.
It's disgusting. It's almost like I hate seeing when Quentin Dunbar was here, dog, wearing 47. Like, come on, bro. Just sad stuff to watch. But no, rookie minicamp starts this weekend. We've given you the numbers. Oh, I forgot about our guy, JCM is what I'm now calling him, by the way. JCM. Ja'Cory Krosky Moret. I say his name slow because I'm still struggling with it.
I get it.
So bear with me here.
That's why I like Bill.
He's calling him Bill?
Well, yeah.
I got a good
it's
brother
simple.
named
It's quick.
Bill.
Adam Peters called him Bill in the draft video, so I think Bill is acceptable. I'm going to have to ask him, or somebody's going to have to ask him at camp if I make it out there.
I got a good brother named Bill. And Bill was once a running back. He carried himself well. Fearless back. Speed demon. I hope.
So Bill Merritt is just great name.
Bill Merritt. Yeah. It just
Bill Merritt,
like
great.
Just like a badass.
Easy.
But no, let's just hope Bill, rocking number 32, by the way, formerly worn by Jarrett Patterson, Pocket Hercules, as some would call him. Excited to see what JCM is able to do. I've done a little bit more digging on him because I was not thrilled by the pick. It didn't knock my socks off. As we got closer to the draft, I started to feel like, you know what, maybe the need for running back was a lot more of a fan thing than it was a team thing. Them waiting until round number 7 to select him, I think, says a little bit about it. But also, this is AP and company being what I like to call a sneaky shooter. What's a sneaky shooter in the world of sports? Sneaky shooter is like me on the basketball court. The ball gets kicked around. You make 3 passes before you take the shot. Let's just say I'm the third pass. I'm sitting in the corner, and I lace nylon. I'm a sneaky shooter because I stand at 6'1.5", about 285 pounds, 280 pounds. I'm down a little bit of weight. You wouldn't expect me to be a shooter. That's why I describe Adam Peters and company as a sneaky shooter. They got JCM in round number 7. Most people, if he would have played last year in college football, he would have had a 3rd, 4th round grade on him. So I consider that a sneaky shooter type of move by Adam Peters and company, getting a guy that sat out last year, doesn't have a lot of tread on the tires. And I've been watching his highlights. And watching highlights for a running back is dangerous because everybody looks like they're all world, or like they're the next Jim Brown when you're watching highlights. But our guy, Ja'Cory Krosky Moret, woo! You want to talk about a guy that invites contact, a guy that is a physical, nasty finisher? that is who he is, and he's got a little bit more juice. I'm going to have to put that to the test come Friday. That's going to be the first thing that I think I'm going to be looking at Friday is how much juice does Ja'Cory Krosky-Moret have? Because I don't believe he's like this speed demon. I don't see major differences between him and Brian Robinson. I'm going to be very honest with you. I think he may have a little bit more juice, but not a whole lot. And for all of you, because I've read the comments online, you can tweet at me as well. It's at NELL_BTP. You all are kind of like anointing Ja'Cory Krosky-Moret as like the starting running back already. You haven't even seen the kid in pads. We're not going to know much about Ja'Cory Krosky-Moret, JCM as I like to call him. If training camp starts on, let's just say it starts on July 26th, we won't know about Ja'Cory until about August 3rd, after they're in full pads and he gets to lay the smackdown on somebody. Because that's really what we're waiting for. It's so difficult in this portion of the offseason to judge the offensive line, the defensive line, safeties, and running backs. Like, those are the positions to me that are most difficult to evaluate at this point in time because we don't have pads on yet. The physicality is not all the way ratcheted up, so to speak. So I'm going to wait and see when it comes to Ja'Cory Krosky-Moret. But all in all, that rookie class for Washington, I think all 5 of those cats have a chance to come in here and provide some sort of impact. What I haven't touched on a ton, and I won't do it right here either, so just bear with me, is the UDFA class for the Washington Commanders. Max, I'm sure you and Kevin have gotten hot and heavy into that.
On UDFAs?
Yes. Not really?
No.
It's hard. It's a longer list this year.
It is.
Before we get out of here, we'll run off the list.
There's one name on this list. Well,
there are a couple of names that stand out to me. One is my cat, Robert McDaniel from Jackson State. I actually saw his teammate on the train not too long ago, and it was crazy. It was before they signed him. I was going to ask the big fella, who was an offensive lineman, like, hey, you got a contact for Robert McDaniel, brother? I know your dude's going to get drafted here, but I was scared. It was late night after an game. I was a coward. I was. But no, he's a guy, big cat, 6'2", 220 pounds, that I think is going to come in here and help them at safety. There's a cat that's getting invited to a rookie minicamp. 2 cats, actually. Xavier Robio. I called his games at Howard this past year. He's a big, long cornerback. He was coached by former Redskins defensive back Kyshawn Jarrett, who is the DB's coach over at the real HU. So excited to see what type of chance he gets to make this team because of his length. He's got a different physical profile than everybody else in that room. So he's interesting to me as well. There's a name, my guy Telly been at me with this name, and I'm going to look it up here real quick to make sure I'm not getting it wrong. Trey Tucker. You familiar with not Trey Tucker? Gosh, it's bad that I'm blanking on the UDFA's name. It's a safety that Washington signed. And speaking of the safety position, you all know how I feel about it. They need some help there. The UDFAs that they brought in, they've signed 2 over the past couple of seasons.
You still haven't hit the name that I'm waiting for you to hit.
Yeah, go ahead. What is it?
Gabe Taylor.
Oh, Gabe. Yes.
Yes. I could not be higher on Gabe. I think that's a little bit of Ashburn syndrome and nostalgia. Is like, Sean was my favorite player growing up, but I would love me some Gabe Taylor on this team. It would warm my heart to see him lace it up for the burgundy and gold.
Rucker is the name that he was talking about. Our guy Chike Camara sent it in the chat. You can get at us as well. We're live on YouTube as well at the Team 980. We're also live and free on the Odyssey app as well. Trey Rucker, jeez,
Oklahoma State.
My guy Telly been telling me about, bruh. He's a safety that comes down and lays the wood, so to speak. Our guy Hassan Terrell says, hi there, happy Cinco de Mayo.
Local cat.
He is a local cat?
Hometown of Waldorf, high school, Flint Hill.
Oh, he's from Waldorf. He's from Afghanistan, as I like to call Waldorf. Those of you that are from the DMV understand what I'm saying. Our guy Chike says he's a hitter. I'm hip, brother, man. Shawty lays the wood. I love that about him. It just gets me back to the safety position. I don't trust it, brother. Max, let me ask you this, man.
Yeah, you're asking a former safety?
I am asking a former
safety. Who got
safety.
burned many times?
If Quan goes down with a hammy or something early in camp, and Will Harris is dealing with the flu, who's your starting safety tandem?
Oh, man. Tyler Owens and somebody.
Craig Hoffman educated me on Tyler Owens and why we should chill on him. Shout out our guy, Craig Hoffman. Shout out C. Hoff. He's with you today, 4 to 7. He's also on the YouTube with you at that time as well. Dog, Tyler Owens, how many defensive snaps did he play last year? To act as if we're just going to anoint some UDFA from last year to be a full-time starter?
Fan favorite. People like him.
I mean, it's nuts. Now, he was a ball magnet last year during training camp. It felt like every other tweet was Tyler Owens catches an interception. Tyler Owens in the right place at the right time off of a deflection. So it's interesting. All right, Chike also says in the chat, Owens is very instinctive. We'll see. He's instinctive when he's going up against Jeff Driscoll and the third teamers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now, I will say this, Chike, and others that are fans of Tyler Owens. Shawty was tackling during preseason. He's not afraid to get in there and get his face dirty, his hands dirty, so to speak. So I love that about him. His RAS score had Riz. Dude, it's the best way that I can say.
Me and Adam Peters, two of the biggest RAS score guys in this town.
You guys love it, man. AP Jr. is what we're going to start calling you, Mad Max.
Listen.
But no, for real, though, man. Tyler Owens is interesting to me. His RAS score was off the damn chain. 6'2", run like a bat out of hell, shot out of a cannon. Like, he is everything that you look for from the physical measurement standpoint at that position. But it is a lot different when you're going up against true NFL starters. The speed of the game changes. Here's the adage that I used over the weekend for that safety position. Quan, I have him ranked as like a top half of the NFL safety at this point, right? I think he's like the 13th or 14th best safety. I thought he played extra well, really good during the postseason, and he caught that interception as well against Detroit. I love him. I think he's a hitter. Love everything about him. Opposite of him, I don't trust it. Will Harris, I continue to say, it's no disrespect to Will. I just got to see it first. Of the reserves that Washington has at safety, Jeremy Reeves, to me, I continue to say it, is the guy that I would trust the most if he had to turn into a regular every down starter. We welcome our pal G from the shop to the chat. Said y'all got some extra rolling papers.
Not here, G.
No, we don't, G from the shop.
Not today. It's Monday.
Look, G, when the NFL draft comes in 2027, I'm sure it'll smell like a greenery around the National Bowl, baby.
Buddy.
But no, super duper excited about that. Our guy, Mark Hogan in the chat also says, biggest DC sports event, the 1994 World Cup games at RFK. So we were asking that question.
Don't doubt that
earlier in the show. Like, what was the biggest event to come here in light of the NFL draft now coming? So shout out to Mark Hogan for that. Our guy, Marcus Edelin, says, with last year's rookie class growth in this year's draft class, plus there are 3 UDFAs that can make some noise, the Commanders have a nice young foundation. I think that's a good point as well. They do have they're starting to build a nice young core. It last year was one of the oldest teams in the National Football League, still by age, but that kind of segues us perfectly here. That young core, the most important piece of that young core is Jayden Daniels. And I think we have forgotten just how good he is. We'll get into some NFL win totals and power rankings post-draft as we roll throughout the final hour and change of this show. But I think I said it moments ago or a little bit earlier on in the show. I've been watching games back from last year just because I need it. I need my fix. I'm an addict for the Commanders. I'm wearing the patch right now. You all can see it. But in reality, I need my fix of burgundy and gold football. So I've been watching. I watched the playoffs back. I watched Detroit last night. I watched the Tampa Bay game on Friday night. And then before that, I was watching that Falcons slobber knocker that we got to watch on Sunday night. Jayden Daniels is bad, boy. I mean, Jayden Daniels is so damn good. And we'll talk about power rankings as we move throughout the show here because it feels like some folks are feeling like Washington's ranked too high. I heard our guy Ben Standig saying that, I don't know if they'll get over the win total. I don't know if they're actually as good as the media is saying they are. Okay. I got 5 on it. G from the shop, you pick out what I'm putting down, brother, man. I got 5 on it, point blank, period. He gives you a shot every time you're on the football field. There was a photo that surfaced this weekend on social media via the Commanders' Twitter account, and I engaged on it. I couldn't help it. What do they call it? They were aura farming with this picture.
Oh, always. Anytime you post a picture of Jayden, it's aura farming.
You're aura farming because you know Shawty got all the aura in the world. So it's him. He's got the they wear they're GPS trackers in those little sports bra.
Yeah, I was gonna say they look like sports bras.
Yeah, they're sports bra, but they're GPS trackers in those things, and guys wear them. That's how they get the data and all that.
Measure your speed, heart rate, all that fun stuff.
So he was wearing it, and they were posting a picture of JD, and someone commented, "Man, has he gotten any bigger?" Because that was the big thing that, he said he would work on this offseason, his body, his mechanics, all that. People were like, "I don't really see it," and low key, I didn't see it either. Someone said, "Well, he's gotten so much bigger in the chest that he's got to wear a sports bra now." No, you
That's
idiot.
not how that works.
That's just a GPS tracker. The first thing that I noticed was his neck. Pause. Like he's gotten wider in the neck. And as somebody that's been heavy on the weights before, that is a telltale sign of like, hey, Shawty's in the weight room. He's getting bigger. He's getting stronger. Is when your neck starts to widen out a little bit. So JD5 has been in the weight room. He has been working. As I mentioned, though, rookie minicamp for the Commanders begins this Friday. OTAs begin in 3 weeks. You can line up on the phones right now for this. 301-230-0980. Who has the most to prove heading into the offseason program for the Washington Commanders? 301-230-0980. We're hot and heavy in the football season now, baby. Rookie minicamp starts Friday. OTAs in 3 weeks. As we get geared up for this offseason program, which player has the most to prove? We'll take your calls on that next here on the Team 980. Kevin Sheehan Show right here on the Team 980. We're always live and free on the Odyssey app as well. Tapped into the youngest in charge, Lynnell Willingham. I'll take you up to 1 p.m. before we hand things over to the Rooster Man, Chris Russell. We'll take you from 1 to 4 p.m. A lot more to get to in the final hour and change of the program. Talking all things X's and O's with the burgundy and gold right now. We got the big news off the top to start the show. RFK 2.0, we know, is at the goal line. A little carrot out there to get that done and finished. How about the NFL awarding DC the 2027 NFL draft? It'll take place at the National Mall. Super duper excited for that. One thing it makes me think about is what are some of the biggest sporting events that have ever happened here in our nation's capital? And a lot of you all have chimed in via the YouTube chat. You can check us out on YouTube as well, Monday through Friday, right here on the Kevin Sheehan Show. Our guy, Mark Hogan, gave the answer. I think it's not one of the answers. I think it is the answer when you consider just how seismic and important,
internationally.
Exactly. The World Cup is. So in 94, the World Cup games were hosted at RFK. So that is the answer that takes the cake. But it got me thinking as well. You can tweet at me. It's at NELL_BTP, the biggest events that have come through DC from a sporting event standpoint, as well as like the event that you're most excited for now that you know we're probably going to have RFK 2.0 be a thing. Right now, though, continuing to look at the offseason program for the Washington Commanders, the timeline of this thing, moving and grooving right along is the best way that I can put it. Rookie mini camp begins Friday for the Washington Commanders. And then in 3 weeks, OTAs begin. Now, kudos to this football team. Everybody has been in the building all offseason long, pretty much. All of the veterans, all of the key important guys have been around in Ashburn, working out with the training staffs, getting their treatment if they're injured, doing everything they can to make sure they're primed and ready for the start of the season. First and foremost, we lauded the chemistry last year with this group. It's a byproduct of these dudes being here in the month of May, June, April, putting that work in, man. There is no, isn't life. There's no substitute for hard work. In the National Football League, it's true as well. So love that they're in the building together. But now that things are about to get going for real here, who has the most to prove heading into the offseason program? When it comes to the Washington Commanders, it could be a veteran. It could be a second-year rookie or a second-year player, rather. Who's got the most to prove as we get geared up for the offseason program? I love asking open-ended questions that you can have several different answers for. Mm-hmm. I think this fits the bill for one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the beauty of the radio business, too.
For me, man, this is tough. First of all, how much can you prove during the offseason program? Because I think there are going to be some folks out there that go, what the hell, Lynnell? What are you talking about? What can you prove? What does Doc Walker call it? What can you prove in lingerie?
Underwear Olympics,
what can you prove in the underwear Olympics? There we go. You can prove a lot, man. You can prove a lot. I think JD5 last year proved during the offseason program that he should have been the starting quarterback.
Very quickly.
Football comes out on time to the right person. It's accurate. The ball placement's there, all of that. So love to see that. The other thing that I think about is this when it comes to the offseason program, this year in particular. Think about all of the names we've been clamoring over this offseason in terms of, he can hit the road, Jack. Couple examples. Brian Robinson, Andrew Wiley, Marshawn Lattimore, Deron Payne. Like, those are some of the names that I think about when I think about these veterans on this football team that got something to prove. I want to talk about our guy Deron Payne here for a second. Because a lot of people feel like unless he comes out and absolutely balls,
he needs to do at least like what he's getting paid to do, you know? That price point, you got to give me some production.
So if he doesn't, I'm glad that you brought that up. If he doesn't play up to the contract, Washington can get out of that contract this offseason.
Woohoo!
Scot-free. So
tell him as much. Tell him this is a contract year.
Yeah, well, you know what happened last time he heard it was a contract year.
Yeah, that's why you're telling him again.
The explosion that he had statistically was absolutely incredible. I will say this, too, and I've gone back and I've been watching games. Y'all going to kill me for this.
Uh-oh.
I'm the same guy that called him and J.A. the Alabama bank robbers, by the way. I was the guy.
You were.
Shout out Ron Rivera. But I think he played better than he got credit for last year. Oh, I know what y'all going to do. I did this with Brian Robinson, too. He's going to, or excuse me, he played, I said excuse me, like I'm from Memphis. He is better than what he got credit for a season ago. I think to your point, Max, clearly did not live up to the $20 million per year price tag that he's got. That's just not what it was last year, statistically speaking. But when you look at what he was asked to do a season ago, a lot of the times, eating double teams, trying to keep the linebackers clean, the pass rush productivity was not there, and the run stuffing was not there. I think the latter is more important because realistically speaking, I think Duran spoiled us with his double-digit sack season a couple of years ago. It's not commonplace for D tackles in the NFL to just wake up with 12 and a half sacks in their lap. That's not what happens. What I need from him is to be the true bona fide anchor of this defense. Come out, hold the point of attack, keep guys clean, and most importantly, be the foundation for this run defense. And I think that's what's most important with him. But in terms of like vets that have something to prove, Duran's right at the top of my list. You know who else is at the top of my list? A position mate of his. Javon Kinlaw.
Yeah.
Javon Kinlaw got the bizag this offseason. Was one of the richest defensive tackle contracts that were given out on the open market.
For his hometown club, too.
For his hometown team. And we saw the last time we had a hometown defensive lineman here.
It didn't work out great.
Didn't work out great, but it wasn't his fault. I continue to contest. For Javon Kinlaw, though.
It's U Street's fault.
It's U Street's fault. And according to my sources out in U Street, they have had a frequent visitor.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. My vote for Offensive Player of the Year cannot stay out of Rose Bar. Anyways, we go from that to this. Javon Kinlaw, to me, has got a lot to prove. If you have a chance, by the way, this is what I was wanting to say. Go look up his story, man. I'm a sucker for a feel-good story. I'm always a firm believer, and I feel like, you know, my career path and the way some of the stuff that I've gone through in my life, I'm a testament for this. You do not let your circumstances dictate your work ethic. Javon Kinlaw did not do that. Went and played his college football at the University of South Carolina. He is a dog. D-A-W-G is the best way that I would describe him. He's been through a lot. He's experienced poverty. He's experienced pain. And it is the motivating factor for why he was able to get himself right to make it to the National Football League. Now for Javon Kinlaw, as he's on his second contract of his career, a third contract rather of his career, it ain't just about staying in the National Football League or getting to the National Football League, rather. It's about staying in the National Football League. And I think he's got a great opportunity this year to do that. He's another guy that's got something to prove to me as well, because we were right here sitting in for my guy Kevin Sheehan when that news broke on free agency day that Javon Kinlaw was their first out of house free agent signing. And I think for the money he got, knowing the expectations that, you know, I think this fan base has for him because of the familiarity with the staff and all that, he's got something to prove as well. He's got to play big. He is a physical specimen that can play all up and down this Commanders defensive line. I do think we'll see him used as that elephant defensive end at times, you know, similarly to how DQ used Red Bryant out in Seattle. But most importantly for Kinlaw, man, it's about being the biggest, freakiest athlete on the field. And that's the guy that I think is going to stand out the most when we go out there for OTAs in terms of like who looks like they were built in a lab and God said, you know what? You're playing football. Javon Kinlaw is one of those guys. Felt the same way about Jeremy Chin last year, walking around 6'3", 225 pounds, cut, chiseled. I think Kinlaw is going to be that this year. I got high hopes for Kinlaw, though.
I do too.
High expectations, they also come with high hopes.
That's, yeah.
Because I think he's got the juice to give you legit pass rush pop from the interior, something that escaped this team last year. And while Dante Fowler was busy getting his quiet ass 10.5 sacks, the interior of this D-line was in no man's land for a lot of the season. So if the trio, I guess they're a quartet of Javon Kinlaw, Deron Payne, I expect those two to be your starters, by the way. Then off the bench, Jerzon Newton and Eddie Goldman. I think you're going to be in good shape, man. That group as a whole, to me, has a lot to prove, because if they can right their wrongs from last year and play like badasses, so to speak, the entire floor of this defense raises. It just does. So I'm excited to see them. We're going to take your calls on this at 301-230-0980. as we get geared up for the start of the offseason program. Rookie mini camp starts on Friday. OTAs begin 3 weeks from now. Who has the most to prove heading into the Washington Commanders offseason program? 301-230-0980. You can tweet at me as well. It's at NELL_BTP. You can get at us in the chat. We're live on YouTube as well under the Team 980. I gave you Javon Kinlaw. I gave you Deron Payne. I'm really just going to sum it up to the entire defensive tackle room.
Sure.
At this point. On the offensive side of the football, it gets interesting.
I got a couple.
I got Vincent Briscoe agrees with us and says, yeah, Deron Payne for real. I pick up what you're putting down, Vince. Payne's got to be better this year. I think everybody in the fan base feels that way. I think he will be better this year because of what our guy Mad Max laid out on the table. It's a contract year, technically. So Deron's going to have to put his money where his mouth is, or he's going to be packing his bags. But on offense is tough. There's a group last year that completely outkicked their coverage.
Played great.
You know, a lot in part because of the offensive rookie of the year, Jaden Daniels. Deebo Samuel is the answer that I know I'm probably going to have. I prove it. Now, I mentioned it a moment ago. He's my vote. If you had to sprinkle a couple of shekels on something, and I'm talking about $5 max. If there's a sports book out there offering you odds on him being the Opoy Offensive Player of the Year, I'd hammer it. And I'll tell you why. He is going to score a lot of touchdowns this year. I look at him as improving their red zone offense. I think it's a big reason why they didn't go running back until round number 7, because they've got Deebo Samuel in there as well. So I look at Deebo and go, you know what? He's got to have heard all the noise about how he's not in shape, about how he's past his prime. One thing I know about Deebo, he's putting in the work. I follow him on Instagram, and I hated these type of teammates when I was in high school and college. Bro.
That would always post how much work they're doing. It's like, bro.
Max, it kills me, bro.
Yeah, it's like, all right, man. It's high school football. It's 6A. Let's all calm down. No one's going D1 here.
You know what I'm saying?
Relax.
Some people were going D1. But
well,
I'll pick up what you're putting down. It would annoy the hell out of me. This was more of an issue in college than it was in high school. Because
your D3 school?
My D3 school. Boy, it annoyed the hell out of me. Some folks just wanted to wear the damn jersey.
Yeah, it's an aesthetic thing.
Look at me, though. Selfie, though. Jersey clean as a fresh pair of linen, though.
Pre-game fit. Come on, dude.
It's absolutely ridiculous. In high school, I kind of got it more because we're in high school, right? Everybody's geeked up to be on varsity.
You got to be a little flashy.
You're on varsity for the first time. You know what I'm saying? The honeys are staying after to watch the late game. People eating their Chick-fil-A sandwiches or hot dogs as they're watching you. Some of us got to play varsity as a sophomore. So
wow, look at you.
No.
Okay, buddy. I long snapped as a sophomore. I'm
You're a long snapper.
Oh, yeah, that's why we respect specialists on this show.
I love it. I absolutely love it. 301-230-0980 is the number. Off-season program for the Commanders getting ready to get underway starting this week. Rookie mini camp happens this weekend. 3 weeks from now, the start of OTAs. As we get into the offseason program, which veteran has the most to prove? I'll give you some on offense next here on the Team 980.
All right. Axios has reported that the NFL draft will be coming to Washington, D.C. in 2027. That was confirmed last night by John Keim. Early reports indicate that they intend to have the draft on the National Mall in front of the Washington Monument. The Nats, they take 2 off the Cincinnati Reds over the weekend. Last night, they win 4-1. C.J. Abrams continues his 10-game hit streak, and Mackenzie Gore with 5 innings pitched, 1 earned run, and 9 strikeouts. Michigan head coach Sharon Moore will serve a school-mandated 2-game suspension to begin the 2025 college football season. This is all related to the Connor Stallion sign-stealing scandal that happened in 2023. The New England Patriots have inducted wide receiver Julian Edelman into their Hall of Fame. He has put up a litany of stats for the New England Patriots in the postseason. He will become their 37th addition into the Ring of Honor. This update is sponsored by the Team 980 YouTube page. Just open the app, type in the Team 980, and hit subscribe. Kevin Sheehan is live from 10 to 1, and Craig Hoffman from 4 to 7. Don't forget to like the stream and turn on notifications to stay up to date on all things DC sports. And that's what's trending.
Snap to Daniels, quick throw to the opposite side. Terry McLaurin got through 2 defenders. 50, 40 by 40, 30 by 30. Foot race at the 20, 15, 10, 5. Stays on his feet. Touchdown, Washington!
The Detroit Lions dial up a zero blitz, and they get burned by the kid and Terry McLaurin.
Be fast, bro.
Hey! Hey! Hey!
Somebody call you scared. Somebody call you scared.
Out of there!
There's not a better number one in the league than Terry McLaurin as the person. He's a better person than he is a player, which is insane.
Some of the sights and sounds from the NFC divisional round of the postseason as Washington spanked the Detroit Lions to advance to the first conference championship for the franchise since the 90s. And the reason we came back with that, getting geared up for veteran minicamp coming up in 3 weeks, veteran OTAs coming up in 3 weeks, rookie minicamp gets underway this weekend. And we're taking your calls right now at 301-230-0980. Who has the most to prove as we get geared up for this offseason program? It feels like Deron Payne is the sexy answer. Talked about him in the opening segment of the hour. I also talked about Javon Kinlaw and the entire defensive tackle group. I think they all got to play better coming up this year. On the offensive side of the football, this is where things get a little interesting to me. Terry doesn't have anything to prove at all. Coming off of the best season of his career. You heard Zach Ertz talking about Terry McLaurin at the end of that bite, saying he's the best number one in football. I think Jets would have something to say about that up in Minnesota, but Jamar Chase as well. But I pick up what Zach Ertz is putting down. I think Terry deserves a lot of credit.
Everything. The world.
A blank check.
My heart. All of it. Uh-oh. Lynnell's looking back like they're ticketing cars.
The ticket people are out there.
Uh-oh.
No, Terry McLaurin doesn't have a lot to prove. A guy that deserves it all. I think he deserves a ton of credit for being there and available during this offseason program when he is in the midst of a contract negotiation right now with this franchise. Terry McLaurin could go out and, God forbid, right, knock on wood, twist his ankle or blow his Achilles out running a route against air in this offseason program.
I don't know why you'd even speak that into existence.
I'm not trying to do that at all, but I'm trying to
blame Lynnell if it happens.
I'm trying to hit on the point that Terry is a pro's pro for showing up and being available for his teammates, despite him having a contract dispute right now with the team. And dispute's probably the wrong word. He's in the final year of his contract, set to be an unrestricted free agent next offseason. But, you know, he's continuing to be there. He's putting in the work, and I love it. Maybe Terry's learned something from his first contract negotiation where he didn't show up. Do you remember that?
Maybe. It's also a different regime he's dealing with, you know?
For sure.
So there are different ways to play ball, especially with, like, because I feel like he's also getting along really well with Jaden.
Yes.
I think, like,
building
he's
that chemistry, building that rapport.
They're jiving. So I
jiving.
Yeah.
I like jiving.
So I think Terry's, I think he's come to understand. I think he also knows, like,
they're going to pay him.
Yeah, they're going to.
Why would they play around with him?
Right, exactly. Why would they? So if they start doing that, I'll get a little worried. That'll be kind of the first red flag that I've seen from Adam Peters and company, but I have no reservations or worries that this won't get done.
Last year, Sam Cosmi's deal got done when? The week of the regular season starting?
It was early. I know that.
Yeah, so I expect a similar timeline for one Terry McLaurin. I thought it said a lot about them extending Cosmi last year. When you think about it, they didn't know anything about Sam Cosmi.
Yeah,
they hadn't been here for that long. It speaks to who Sam has been as a player, person, and leader within this organization. But in terms of guys on offense that have something to prove, in terms of guys on offense that, you know, got to put their money where their mouth is, so to speak, I think it will be very interesting moving forward. Brian Robinson is the first guy that comes to mind for me not because of my personal feelings about him, but because the way the fan base has talked about him this offseason. You all act as if, you know, the
like
kid,
he was Trent Richardson.
You know what I'm saying? Like he's Trent Richardson, like he put on 50 pounds and can't run anymore, as if he's done something bad. I think B-Rob and some of the lack of production down the stretch was a byproduct of the offensive line struggling, specifically on the interior with that battery, that guard center guard combo. And then B-Rob was a little bit nicked up down the stretch, man. I forgot what game it was, man, where he came back into the football game. It may have been Dallas. he comes back into the football game after suffering an injury that makes him look like he broke his damn ankle.
Yeah.
So to think about, the impact of that moving forward throughout the rest of the regular season and then into the playoffs, you're playing hurt, you're playing dinged up. That's what you expect at the running back position, but trying to give him a little bit of grace in terms of, why the production fell off a little bit. The one major thing that I know fans out there have, the one gripe the fans out there have, I kind of have it as well, is the vision of Brian Robinson, not the best. It feels like Anthony Lynn, old school coach, right? Anthony Lynn was coaching Brian Robinson, hit the hole, to where he wasn't really surveying for the hole, just running up people's backs, it felt like a lot of the times. And a lot of running backs go through that. B-Rob is a young running back still in this NFL as well. So, let's give him some grace with that too. But I would love to see this year, one, what type of shape Brian Robinson comes in. First and foremost, he's always in tip-top shape. Never have to worry about that with B-Rob. But with the running back position, as you get older, as you get a little bit more tread on the tires, there are different ways that you go about getting prepared for the regular season. Can't wait to ask him about that. But, he's a dude to me that, is going to have a massive chip on his shoulder. And I think that massive chip for Brian Robinson is going to lead to him having a tremendous, year number 4 in the National Football League.
Damn, it's year 4.
Can I give a take?
Give your take.
Am I allowed to do that? I think he's the starting running back week 1.
I don't think that's crazy hot
I
take.
don't think that the young 7th rounder is going to just come in and take his job right off the rip. I think B-Rob going to make him work for it. Also think Austin Eckler is going to be featured in the backfield as well. We know that. And then Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel's the other part of this equation that becomes very interesting as well. Cliff Kingsbury deep in his bag last year as a play caller. You add Deebo and Jalen Lane to the mix, how much better can this offense look? But in terms of guys that have something to prove, I look right away at Brian Robinson and go, yeah, B-Rob, you got something to prove.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Lou,
so position group, this isn't exactly a worry, but it is something to monitor. It's just how this offensive line is going to get moved around, especially with Cosme's injury. So it's going to be a very fluid situation coming into the season.
I agree.
So a lot of offensive line play really does come down to chemistry and timing,
right?
With how players move and the speed at which they're pulling and guards and stuff like that. So I got my eyes on Nick Allegretti this coming into the season. Nate Herbig, a new addition. Just a lot of the we'll see where Brandon Coleman ends up lining up. But with the lack of drafting a running back, aside from Bill Merritt in the 7th round.
Bill Merritt.
Hey, the offensive line play is definitely in the running game is something I'm going to be monitoring. How quickly do they get downhill? How quickly do they fire off the ball? Whether or not they have tells and stuff like that. It's going to be a very interesting thing to monitor kind of throughout the season. I think that's going to be a little bit of a storyline that we talk about quite a bit.
It's tough, right? I mentioned we wouldn't really get a full update on Bill Merritt until about August the 7th. I can say the same about the offensive line.
Yeah.
Until they get pads popping and they're actually able to fire off the ball, it's going to be interesting. Good thing about this, though, we have joint practices, plural.
That we do.
Plural. I think the Ravens are going to be announced as a second joint practice. As Coach Harbaugh was referencing that over the weekend during their rookie mini camp. We know we got one with New England. And New England's got a pretty good defensive line.
It's going to be very fun.
Especially when you add big game Milton Williams via free agency. So super excited for that. We're going to take your calls at 301-230-0980. As we get geared up for the start of the offseason program, right? Rookie mini camp gets underway this weekend. OTAs get underway in 3 weeks. Which veteran has the most to prove as we're getting geared up for the 2025 offseason program? Lap is in D.C. Wants to chime in. What's going on, Lap?
Hey, what's up, Lynnell? I had to mess with you. Ron.
That's sir.
What's
going on, man?
I know you wasn't too happy. About that. I asked Bruce if he talked to you or not.
No, I was not.
See how you was feeling, man. So
I appreciate. Look, I appreciate you checking in on me, man. I'm doing all right. I survived it.
Yeah. So good news too about the draft coming here, man. That's gonna be a big deal, man. I can't wait for that. And then as far as the players, man, I mean, I don't have one in particular for the defense. I'm gonna just say the whole defensive line.
Yeah.
They got to get pressure, and the defense as a whole. If we can't have that Miles Garrett type of effect, man, we at least gonna have to like get some stops, man, like hold teams to field goals, get stops on third downs, etc. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you don't have like a top 10 defense, you got to be able to be effective some kind of way. And on the offensive side, I definitely agree with you on B-Rob having to prove himself and playing with a chip on his shoulder. Definitely. Debo has to be available.
Gotta be.
But I'm looking for.
I'm gonna say this about Debo Samuel real quick. As good of a time as he's having off the damn field, as good of a time as his ass is having off the field, he's there at work every day though, so I ain't got a problem with it. I'm happy about it. I'm happy that he's getting acclimated to the city. We ain't heard no smoke out of the dude. He's a good dude first and foremost. So I'm just busting his chops.
And if we
talk about him.
if we can get Debo available, man, him and Terry would be so dangerous.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have one of the top offenses. And Luke McCaffrey, man, and KJ Osborne. I really want to see them and Noah Brown too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lap, I'm glad you brought up KJ Osborne, Lap, because honestly, going into last year when they brought him in, I thought he was gonna supplant someone because he was the better football player than Noah Brown was statistically over the course of his career. Exactly. But Noah came in and had a much larger impact.
I told you about Noah Brown, though. Remember I told you? I said,
sure.
Don't sleep on Noah Brown can play, bro. Yeah, he can play. Yeah.
Definitely. Lap, I appreciate you tapping. Yeah, I appreciate you tapping in as always, brother. 301-230-0980. Off-season program for the Commanders gets underway this week with rookie minicamp over the weekend. OTAs begin in 3 weeks. Which veteran has the most to prove as we get geared up for the off-season program? We'll take your calls on that on the other side of the break. Plus, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs went Kanye crazy over the weekend. Some of the best from the Game 7s around the NHL and the NBA next on the Team 980. Oh, you're not going to turn your head over here?
He's a coward. Coward, Jeff Walker.
Team 980, we're always live and free on the Odyssey app as well. It's the youngest in Charles, Lynnell, Willingham. We'll take you up to 1 o'clock before we unleash the rooster. Back in studio, fresh off the colonoscopy.
Why'd you have to say that?
Well, he was talking about it on the air.
He said procedure.
No, he said it. He said it.
All right, everybody get screened, get checked. That's what. Listen,
that was the whole.
It's the proper thing.
Exactly. Even if the rooster's got to get his prostate checked and make sure he can keep cockle-doodle doing all around town, then so should you. So shout out my guy. He comes your way at 1 p.m. He'll take you up to 4 p.m. I hope we can get him in here for the final segment of the show. I haven't got to share the airwaves with my old caged animal friend in a long time. So super excited to hear him coming up. Right now, though, I want to continue to take your calls at 301-230-0980. Commanders offseason program underway. Rookie mini camp starts on Friday. OTAs begin in 3 weeks. It's that time of year where the overanalysis begins. I am the king of overanalysis. It is me. But no, I say that facetiously. It's that time of year, man, where we want something to talk about, man. And the first thing that comes to mind for me is now that these jokers are back in the building, and a lot of them have been here for months now, and that just shows and speaks to the camaraderie of this group and how locked in and dialed in they are on getting better. They've been here for months now, though. Now that they're about to hit the practice field for the first time together in 3 weeks, which veteran has the most to prove? We got rookie minicamp coming up this weekend. We'll get to see the 5 draft picks plus the glut of UDFAs. For the veterans, though, who's got the most to prove? Defensively, we've talked about that defensive tackle group as a whole. Deron Payne, Jerzon Newton, Javon Kidlaw, Eddie Goldman coming out of retirement. Definitely got to have a chip on his shoulder. On the offensive side, I initially brought up Brian Robinson. Before I get to another offensive guy, we'll go to our guy Kenny in Charlotte chiming in. What's going on, Ken Dog? How you feeling?
What's up, Nell? Finally glad to get an opportunity to chop it up with you.
Yes, indeed, brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm going to put a little spin on it, but
okay.
To answer your question directly real quick, I think all of the veterans that were brought in based on the draft picks we gave away.
Okay.
I think they got something to prove, right? And I'm sure you can elaborate on that later, but I wanted to put the spin on it real quick and say, because you have to build through the draft to win championships, like the Eagles, so to speak, I feel like the draft class from last year has the most to prove. Now, here go the ice cream with the cake. I think Jaden Daniels has the most to prove because
I like that. Way to come out fire, Kenny.
They always talk about a sophomore slump, which we've seen with C.J. Stroud and other quarterbacks in the past. The expectations, maintaining the health, and was it just a one-year wonder, or can he prove that he's that sustainable franchise quarterback? That's what everybody, I think that's what I'm hoping for out of everything, is that if he's the real deal and proves that he is for years to come, then everything else, it's just icing on the cake, man. But honestly, I feel like in my heart, in my gut, Jaden Daniels has the most to prove.
And that's not a bad answer, man. I know it'll get met with some pushback on social media, but we appreciate you as always, Kenny. Enjoy the rest of your week, brother. I like when people don't come scared, Mad Max. You know what I say? If you scared, go to church. But in reality, is there a better answer than Jaden Daniels? He's got a lot to prove, Max.
Got so many expectations on him.
Yeah, he's got to prove that me anointing him as a top 6 to 7 signal caller already,
top 5
in the National Football League. Well, he's got to prove that.
Yeah, it's true. He does.
The way Jalen Hurts performed during the NFL playoffs, he's going to have something to say about that top 5 conversation. I know what people are going to say.
Eagles fans do too, but I don't care what they have.
By the way, shout out our guy JP Finley, who tweeted this earlier, and I sent the tweet to myself. I didn't even bring it up, Mad Max. Those stupid, thirsty, possessed Eagles fans.
It's been all offseason.
Already trying to figure out a way how they can hijack the draft in 2027. Are you kidding? Stay your ass in Philly. Don't come to the National Mall.
I will have the president set a perimeter around the city to prevent any Kelly Green from entering our vicinity.
You know our president has no problem putting up borders, damn it.
That's right.
So we do not need no Eagles fans I can't believe I just said that.
You're not wrong.
But seriously, though, I do not want to see any Eagle fans at the National Mall in 2027 for the draft. Get your own, host your own draft. That just annoyed me. 301-230-0980 is the number. Kenny in Charlotte says Jay Daniels has the most to prove going into next year. Low key, I agree with him. When you think about the way he's been talked about, you know what this feels like, though? And it's polar opposite because we didn't deserve the praise last time around. Remember 2021 offseason or 2020 offseason? Fitzpatrick, the slide, Curtis Samuel.
Yes.
It feels like to me, those people were talking conference title game, bro, because of how well we played the Bucks.
They were.
And Chase Young being in year 2 and being a game record, all that. It was all for nothing, obviously.
Just Ashburn syndrome, just huffing it.
Yes. I mean, literally inhaling Ashburn syndrome by the pound. Like, there are
drunk off that Kool-Aid, man.
There are huge expectations this year for this team. And we'll get to some of the power rankings that are out there. ESPN, the latest major sports outlet to drop their power rankings for the NFL for next year. They dropped a list this morning. We'll get to that coming up before we get out of here. But NFL.com dropped power rankings last week. You know where they had the old dirty Commanders? I can't call them the dirty Commanders. It sounds negative, but you know where they had the old Commanders at, Mad Max?
I want to say top 10, but I don't know.
Show top 10.
I don't know how high in the top 10.
NFL.com had the Commanders ranked as the 6th best team in the National Football League. And a little teaser for you. Let's just say ESPN and NFL Network on the same page when it comes to where they have Washington ranked. That's a tease for you. In the radio world is what we call that. But those expectations that we're talking about with Jayden Daniels, it's a big reason why they're, picked as the 6th best team in the NFL post-draft by NFL.com. It's not because the rest of the roster is just so great. It's because you have a quarterback that legitimizes you amongst the contenders in the NFL. He will have you in that conversation year in, year out when it comes to, the best teams in all of the land. He is going to have you in that conversation year in, year out. And I think he earned the right for that to be the case. Last year, he played his ass off. That's why we're talking about expectations or the most to prove going into next year. I think he's got to be right up on that list. He's got to prove that last year wasn't a fluke. And I'm not a betting man because I'm broke. But if I was a betting man, I would bet that Jayden Daniels is going to live up to expectation. Isn't going to have a sophomore slump because he puts the work in. That's what's most important to me. He works through hell or high water, by hook or by crook. Jayden Daniels is going to put in the necessary requisite work to be an elite quarterback. Y'all know how I feel about NFL quarterback play. I think there's the 4 horsemen and then everybody else. But if Jayden Daniels goes out and replicates last year and even takes a step forward, it's not just going to be the 4 horsemen. And when I refer to the 4 horsemen, y'all know who I'm talking about. Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes, Burrow, Josh Allen. The clear-cut best 4 quarterbacks in the NFL. I think there is a great debate that we'll have this offseason about who is that 5th best quarterback. If Jayden Daniels goes out this year coming up and plays similarly to how he played last year and even raises his floor, which I expect him to do because the supporting cast is a hell of a lot better. If he can replicate last year, top 5, top 5, top 5, top 5, top 5, top 5, top 5. Dead or alive, baby. Charlie could do it. What did I call him earlier before the show started? I keep flip-flopping back and forth. I'm gonna go with Patrick Jackson. I'm gonna go with Patrick Jackson. Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson reincarnated because his mom was Miss Regina Jackson, keeping the last name similar. Trying to keep it on brand here. But I think he's that type of cat.
Yeah.
Did the NFL discontinue the top 100 list?
No, that usually comes out close to the season, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm so geeked up to see where the NFL.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because
he need to be in the top 10, bro.
Yeah, top 100 is voted on by players, and if players think he's got the juice, then
that's all that matters for him.
That's right.
301-230-0980. Speaking of having the juice, off-season program for the Commanders gets underway this weekend with rookie minicamp. OTAs 3 weeks from now. who has the most to prove? Which veteran has the most to prove as we get geared up for the offseason program? Our guy Kenny in Charlotte said it was Jaden Daniels. What's DC and Fairfax got to say about it? What's going on, DC?
Lynnell, how you doing, brother?
Doing good, brother. Look, you a dog on the phone, so no surprise, rather, that we hear a dog in the background from you, brother, man. What's going on?
I'm just prepping y'all. I'm coming with it.
I feel it.
But nah, man, Kenny, honestly, he stole my answer, man, because, you know, everybody talks about the sophomore slump and all of that. But I'm going to say as a team, we have to prove ourselves because we're coming off the long term, not making the playoffs or winning more than one game or even winning a game in the playoffs since what, 2005,
yep,
2007.
05 was last playoff.
And we went to the NFC Championship game. We had a rookie quarterback. We got all these new pieces, new coaching staff. Everybody's talking about, man, y'all and the Eagles are the ones to knock off, man. We gonna have to, y'all, we gotta come through y'all and the Eagles. So we have to get at least back to the NFC East Championship, but I want that Super Bowl because they talking about Hail Marys, fluke wins. None of that was fluke. We just have to prove it on the field as a team.
Yep.
And yes, there's individual players that's going to stand out, but overall as a team, we got to prove to the league that we serious. It wasn't just a one-year thing. You know what I mean?
I love that answer because what'd you hear as we were getting geared up for the conference title game? Oh, they won their last 5 games of the regular season on the final play, though, and they're not this and they're not that. I think you hit a smack on the head, DC, because look.
Hey. And Lynnell, I even remember you. You was like, y'all, they got to prove to me. They got to beat the Eagles.
For sure.
We lost to the fifth. And I respect that. But now we got all the way to the NFC East. We proved you wrong last year. Now we have to prove the other naysayers that saying it was a fluke season again this year. You know what I mean?
Correct. And I think that could look different, right? They may not hit the 11-win total and still be a better team next year because the schedule is much improved, DC. I appreciate the call as always, brother. Enjoy your week, man. So I think DC brings up a really good point here. The whole team's got something to prove. See, I think if I know DQ the way I know DQ, and by the way, I keep telling you all to go watch this podcast he was on, man. It's the most random trio of folks. Alex Smith, Shane Battier, and some random rich donk do a podcast, and they had Dan Quinn on, and they were asking him about his leadership style, man. And Max, this is why this job is like always just the absolute best. I'm literally getting goosebumps thinking about
his answer,
thinking about like, dog, what he had to say, man. Like it's no surprise, it's no mistake that this team outkicked their coverage last year. They got the absolute best out of every last guy on that roster. And the same infrastructure is in place this time around. So I expect to see it happen again. One thing I think you were with me, Max, the last time I chewed on this topic on the radio. Who's going to be this year's Olamide Zaccheaus? Who's going to come out of nowhere on that 1-year vet minimum deal? We're making fun of his jersey number in camp because he's wearing some eyeball number. We don't really respect it because we haven't seen it before. Who's going to be that guy this year?
I mean, I have your answer, but it's not a vet.
Uh-oh.
It's a rookie.
Who do you think?
Jalen Lane.
You think Jalen Lane?
He's basically Olamide Zaccheaus with better athletic measurables.
100%. I see what you're saying. The one thing I would say about Jalen Lane, and I went on TV and told everybody who would listen, my 2 most intriguing picks out of this draft, I know that was going to pop you. My 2 most intriguing picks in this draft class was the 4th round pick, Jalen Lane out of Tech, and then the 6th round pick, Kane Medrano out of UCLA. I thought both of those cats had the chance to come in here and make an impact right away because of the positions they play and what the needs are. With Jalen Lane, man, the only thing I question with him is how will the transition to the National Football League work for him?
For sure.
A slider built receiver. Will he struggle with physicality at the line of scrimmage? Here's the other thing. If he struggles with physicality,
that means Xavier Worthy this year.
If he struggles, that means our corners aren't worth a damn. You're going up against Marshawn Lattimore and Trey Amos every damn day. Mikey Sainris still every damn day. Doesn't get more physical than that. Shout out Noah Igbenogany as well. So they're going to get in your face. They're going to jam you. They're going to talk junk to you. So he should be ready to go. But I do worry about that because when you look at wide receiver, It's not always the easiest transition because of some of the nuances of the position that you have to learn. But when you're in a position room with Terry McLaurin and Zach Ertz is also on the offense with you, you get to learn some of the tricks of the trade a little bit faster. But I agree with you. Jalen Lane's going to be huge. My guy, in terms of like who's going to be this year's Lamade Zaccheaus, and I'm going to text Kevin because me and Kevin actually had a conversation about this off the record. I'm telling we brought it up on the show today. For me, man, this year's OZ is going to be Dietrich Wise, bro. I think Dietrich Wise comes in here and completely sets the tone on the defensive line from an edge-setting perspective. You know what he's got that nobody else on this defense has? Championship hardware. That matters.
It's true.
I love the team-building arc, so to speak, right, that Washington is on. You went out, you gutted the entire organization. You brought in a bunch of high character, high quality people that also double down in knowing how to evaluate football and then are good at football. Brought those guys in. Your head coach is properly, positioned because he's a great leader. AP was the most, sought after talent evaluator on the market. You got all that in your favor. You won 12 games. You made it to the conference title game. How do you build off of it? You need champions. Bobby Wagner doesn't have championship hardware, does he? He doesn't. No, yes, he does.
I was going to say,
they beat
Seattle.
Denver. They beat Denver.
Yeah.
Was he on that team?
Pretty
Was
sure.
he a rookie?
I'm pretty sure.
He may have been a rookie on that team. I remember the Super Bowl MVP in that game was KJ Wright, if I'm not mistaken.
2014. He was on that team.
Yeah. That was his third or fourth year in the league. So Bobby Wagner has hardware, but bringing in two guys in Jonathan Jones and Dietrich Wise that have championship pedigree, I think they help you out as well. Our guy Marcus Edelin in the chat says two people that would surprise everyone. Jalen Lane, he reminds me of Deshaun Jackson.
I've also heard that comp.
I like that comp.
I love that comp.
If he can track the football as well as D-Jax can, then he's a dog. Because that was D-Jax's superpower, how well he tracked the football. Terry's really good at it as well. But I love the answer about Jalen Lane.
You're going to love the next one.
Well, the second part, you know how
I know you love this guy.
Me and John Kine, man, the leaders of the Javonte Jean-Baptiste fan club, bro. That joint practice against the New York Jets, Kime came over to me and said, you see that one now? And mind you, for young pup out on the beat covering camp, wet behind the ears, breath still smelling like Similac, just for Kime to come out of his way and talk to the youngest in charge. I felt good about it. But then he confirmed my thoughts. It was at that point I realized I was the smartest football analyst ever.
Realized I know ball.
You know what I'm saying? But wow. For real though, keep it in a stack, man. Like Javonte Jean-Baptiste, man, is high on my list. It's gonna be a hell of a battle. We've talked about this on this show, on other shows. What they did in free agency and in the draft obviously raises the overall floor of this team. But most importantly to me, I think it's a much more difficult roster to make this time around. There will be good football players that ultimately get cut. So that to me is, super duper exciting that they're going to be better one way or another, by hook or by crook, through hell or high water, as I like to say. They will be a better football team. 301-230-0980 is the number if you want to chime into the question that we have on tap for you right now. Which veteran of the Washington Commanders going into the offseason program has the most to prove? Gave you a couple on offense, gave you a couple on defense. A couple callers came out and said Jaden Daniels, and I absolutely agree with it. He's got a lot to prove, right? What a little baby said, I got something to prove. He's got a lot to prove as well, man. Everybody's, anointing you as a top 5 quarterback after 1 year of good play. If I know JD5 the way I think I do, though, man, he is going to have a massive chip on his shoulder. He's not going to let the outside noise inflate his head, and he's just going to, put his head to the grindstone and work. When we come back, your calls on which vet has the most to prove entering the offseason program. Also, we will take a look at ESPN in their post-draft NFL power rankings. Where do they have the Commanders listed? We'll tell you that next here on the Team 980. I heard there's some follically challenged fan out there that has offered up Mad Max tickets in order to not play my rejoin music. I heard that from a bird. Maybe the bird I'm hearing ain't got the right drop.
But
that's what I heard.
The bird might be telling a little bit of truths.
All I know that birds do is lie. Because I know Chris Russell. He's the rooster. His lying ass football takes. No, I'm joking.
I don't know about that.
No, he's an honest guy. His football takes are trash at times. That's my guy, though. I can bust his chops. He comes your way next at 1 p.m. He'll take you to 4 o'clock before we hand things over to Craig Hoffman. Right now, though, taking your calls at 301-230-0980. Rookie mini camp for the Commanders gets underway this weekend. OTAs, veteran OTAs, voluntary, that is, underway in 3 weeks. As we're hot and heavy into the offseason, which veteran has the most to prove as we get geared up for the offseason program? We've given a bevy of names, the entire defensive tackle room. We've talked about Brian Robinson. One of the last callers brought up Jayden Daniels. I thought that was an excellent answer that most people may not think of. I'm going to give one more before we get out to the phones here. Somebody that's got something to prove, to me at least. Zach Ertz. Was last year a fluke? Did you really beat Father Time? Washington chose to bypass tight end via free agency and in the draft because they have confidence in Zach Ertz having another smash-older type of a year. Will he have it is the big question. 301-230-0980 is the number. TC is in Maryland. What's chime in? What's going on, TC?
Thanks for taking my call, Neil.
Yes, sir.
I believe this. Everyone that Adam Peters drafted last year, all those rookies last year, they have to step up this year. McCaffrey, all of them, Baptiste, the tackle, everybody, even the linebacker that they drafted last year, they didn't play much. They're supposed to be, what's his name, McGee or something they're supposed to play?
Jordan
every
McGee.
Every last one of those cats who got drafted has to step up. This is the only way we're going to be outstanding, improve, and get the way we need to get to. The rookies we drafted this year, they're going to be rookies. Most of the time, that's a big season for them to be rookies. So 9 times out of 10, they're not going to come in and be dominant like that. They're just not. Even Coleman that we drafted last year, he played a lot of season last year, so he got that under his belt. He got to go. Along with Brian Robinson, he must
I agree.
Explode. He must explode. Or because Jaden, without a doubt, is going to do his thing. But we need the others
totally
to
agree.
do this thing. We have to have the others. If we don't have the others, then we're going to be short. We're going to be short. So that's what I need going forward. It has to happen. Adam Peters, he made the draft picks last year. Adam Peters is supposed to be the genius. Okay, that's fine. So this class, their second year, they got to be hit. McCaffrey, he out there.
That's the big
whatever
one.
it is, you got to do something.
That's the big one.
You got to put up or shut up. You got to put up, shut up. So it's all those cats.
For sure.
They got to do something.
I think you
hit not just one in particular.
Yeah, for sure. I think you hit it right on the head, TC. I appreciate the call as always. Been a jury week.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough. TC coming out swinging. I agree with him though. I think every caller we've heard from on this topic, I think you can make an argument, for why player X or Z has something to prove. We'll go out on social media as well and get some answers in here. Our guy Athen in Annapolis says Daron Payne hands down has the most to prove, considering the most money that they've paid him over the past couple of years. Of production that he's put out on the field has not been close to what he is capable of. I agree 100% with what Athen said. I think we talked about Daron Payne when we first cracked this topic off. He's got something to prove, man. And I think Daron is an honest enough cat. He's not super vocal with the media, kind of a soft-spoken dude, but he's real. He's a real one. He grinds, he works. Payne and his lack, this is the thing why I feel good about Daron Payne and why I'm not totally out or, selling him off. His lack of production last year wasn't because he didn't put the work in, right? His lack of production last year wasn't because he just said, forget it. I don't care about getting better at football. He's got the right mentality, man. I truly do believe that. I think all of those guys that are cut from that Alabama fabric are going to put the work in to be the best player that they can be. I think Daron Payne This is tough. After that double-digit sack season, I was calling him a top 5 defensive tackle in all the National Football League. As we sit here right now, I don't think that's the case at all. But I do not think, and maybe this is just a homer in me starting to bleed out as we get closer to the start of the regular season, I continue to feel like we are way harder on Daron Payne and way down on Daron Payne as media and fans compared to how the team actually views him internally. I think that's a real comment to make. I said the same thing about the defensive end spot. The entire offseason, I'm screaming from the mountaintops, drafted edge, drafted edge, drafted edge. And then what did they do? They didn't draft an edge. What does that say? We like our edge guys in-house more than you guys give us credit for. 301-230-0980 is the number. As we get geared up for the offseason program, which Commanders veteran has the most to prove? Let's go to Alex in Vienna. Wants to chime in. What's going on, Alex?
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Yes,
just to riff on what the last guy said, Ben Sennett, the team burned a second-round pick on this guy.
Burned,
and
right.
he barely contributed. So, he was behind a really good tight end in Zach Ertz, but Father Time, as you mentioned, is not on Zach Ertz's side. So Sennett needs to step up and start showing that he is the guy that can replace Ertz as the sort of catching tight end to partner with Bates. Otherwise, they got to go back to the market next year and look at one in the draft. Otherwise, so I think it's him.
That's gonna be tough. You got one on defense for us?
Yeah, on defense, I would like to. Honestly, we keep hearing about how Mikey Sandstro is this great slot corner. So now that we have an outside corner, let's show to be the best slot corner there is.
That's interesting, man. And I appreciate the call as always, Alex. Enjoy the rest of your week, brother. So I saw your face turn up there. Remember there was a point in time during the year? Remember there was a point in time during the year where I was trying to let the general public know, hey, Mikey was good last year.
Mikey's very good.
He was good last year, but he wasn't perfect. He had his struggles at times during the season last year. The first month of the NFL season, he led the NFL in touchdowns given up. That's when he was featured in the slot.
Yeah.
So when you're in the slot, I think the job becomes a little bit more difficult.
Absolutely.
We'll see how he handles himself. Another cat that he's got the right temperament, the right mental makeup to where when he makes mistakes, it's not because he ain't watched tape. It's not because he ain't putting the work in. It's just he got outbeat by the other man, outplayed by the other opponent. So Mikey is interesting. I wouldn't say he's got something to prove. I guess he does, though, because
you always got something to prove, especially coming in your second year in the league.
Right.
But to put top 5 slot corner on Mikey,
that's not fair.
In terms of expectations going into year 2, that's just not fair. Because he didn't get time to settle into that position in year 1. He was getting moved all over the field because we needed it.
And that happened during camp too. It happened early in camp. So
they're going to be growing pains going into this position in year 2. It's going to happen. I'm not going to like it. It's going to suck. As a corner, you're going to give up big plays. That's just kind of the nature of the position. So I don't have what is the term I'm looking for? I'm not expecting the world from Mikey in year 2.
I agree.
But I still think he's gonna be a solid guy in year 2. I just don't think he's gonna be top 5. You know what I mean?
No, and it's a really difficult position to play.
So hard.
What I'm most concerned with and what I'm most looking forward to in terms of his move back inside is the ancillary impact that it has on the run defense. Putting him down closer to the line of scrimmage, being one of your toughest.
Because he's a dog. He'll post up. Right. He will lock in to make that tackle. He's not gonna jump out of the way like some prissy boy. But
Benjamin St. Just.
Hey, listen, I was gonna say it, but
no, it's tough, man. It's always interesting, right? There are business decisions that have to be made when you're playing professional football, high school football, college, whatever level you advance to. That's why the safety spot to me is so important, man. When it's a cold November evening, and you're going up against the Philadelphia Eagles in playoff seeding,
and your hands are already stinging.
Playoff seeding is on the line, and it's you one-on-one in an alley with Saquon Barkley. You gonna shake a leg or lose one. That's the best way that I can put it. You're gonna get down or lay down. Point blank. That to me is why the safety spot's so important. I can't wait till the joint practices. I want to see them hit people. I want to see our guys hit other guys very hard. That's why I love the NFL. 301-230-0980 is the number. I mentioned, we'll go back out on Twitter here for a second as our guy, DC Sports Dre. Shout out to our guy, Dre, man, of the Trap or Dive podcast tapping in with us. He says Quan Martin is his guy that has the most to prove. He said last year was his first year as a starter, but the question is, will he be a Jag or a consistent difference maker / impact player like he was at the University of Illinois? Shout out our guy, Dre, tapping in. That's a really good answer. Because I said it earlier in the show, Quan Martin was one of the steady eddies of this Commanders defense last year. Rarely got beat over the top. I thought the range was okay. Nothing that jumps off the page at you because they're already playing them so damn deep to prevent them getting beat over the top. So I'll leave that where it stands. But the Quan thing is interesting, man. Dre, if you tapped in still, call us on the line, tweet at us, however you want to get at me. Am I hyperbolizing it? I thought he played really well down the stretch. And if I had to rank him, there are 32 starting free safeties in the NFL. Where am I putting Quan? 13th, 14th? Definitely a top half of the league guy. My bigger question is not really just with Quan, it's the position as a whole. They lack depth. They just do. And Quan, told us that he had off-season shoulder surgery, 2 separated shoulders, and that he's, working his way back from that. I thought, man, look, if he went down last year, if we had an injury at the safety spot, who's the depth piece? Right now, there's only one guy at safety that I'm penciling in. There's only one guy at safety that I'm penciling in, and it is Quan Martin. Who plays opposite of Quan Martin? I think it's a massive question mark. I said it earlier in the show. Of the reserves on this defense, and I consider Will Harris a reserve because he hasn't earned a starting job yet, I'd be most comfortable with Jeremy Reeves being that safety opposite of Quan Martin because I know he's going to do his responsibility in the run game, tackle, all of that. So that's the tough part to me. 301-230-0980 is the number. I mentioned we would look at some win totals here for the Washington Commanders. Not win totals, excuse me, the power rankings that were set by ESPN this morning. Late last week, we got power rankings from NFL.com. They ranked the Commanders as the 6th best team in the National Football League. Post-draft, ESPN's got their power rankings out. I'll start at the bottom, a place that Washington for years was accustomed to being. Hey, Mac, you're not going to like this. 32nd ranked team in the National Football League.
I thought he was in here.
I thought he was too. That's why I brought it up. But the Giants come in at number 32. I think they probably should come in at number 32. It's probably a pretty accurate spot for that football team. What was interesting to me is how low the Dallas Cowboys were ranked on this list. They come in at 19th in the National Football League. So they don't have Dallas as a playoff team if the season was to end today because you get 7 from each conference. They're not a top 15 team in the NFL, according to ESPN. The Commanders, though, ranked 6th in the National Football League. The top 5 is as follows: Baltimore 5th, Detroit 4th, Buffalo 3, Philadelphia 2, Kansas City 1. I'm going to say this. I don't know what the hell the folks at ESPN and NFL.com are looking at. How are you looking at Kansas City saying that they're better than Philadelphia? There's just no way that I look at that football team and go, yeah, they got better. They're much better than Philadelphia.
It's an interesting gripe that you have because I have a different gripe.
What's that?
The Detroit Lions.
Being above us?
They just lost both their coordinators.
Talk about it.
Ben Johnson
and Kevin
hailed.
Zeitler.
Yes, and Kevin Zeitler. Ben Johnson was hailed as like this offensive mastermind. How are they going to replace that? Who are they replacing that with? Who are they replacing Aaron Glenn with? Because those were 2 of the best coordinators in football. There's a reason that they got hired for head coaching positions. I don't know that the Detroit Lions deserve to be number 4 in the power rankings. I think people are forgetting the curse of the Detroit Lions a little bit here.
This is a put up or shut up year for Detroit.
Absolutely.
In terms of their books.
Yeah.
Jared Goff, in his ridiculously unearned contract extension, kicks in next year from a salary cap standpoint. So if they don't win it all this year, that team could look massively different. They're already fielding trade calls for former first-round wide receiver Jameson Williams. So clearly things are picking up. Business is picking up in the Motor City. The Commanders come in ranked 6th. The top 5, as I just said, Baltimore 5th, Detroit 4th, Buffalo 3, Philly 2, KC 1. This would be a perfect time for Nell's Super Six Pack, but the committee does not meet during the offseason, ladies and gentlemen. I would have had Washington ranked ahead of, I think they're better than Baltimore. I think Washington and Baltimore are like evenly matched teams, but we have the better quarterback. That's how I look at it. They played their tail off when we played them at the bank earlier in the regular season, and that was when this team hadn't reached their peak yet and wasn't playing their best ball.
They hadn't found an identity yet either.
They were still kind of just winging it on both sides of the football. So I do think Washington is probably better than Baltimore. I would say they're about even with Baltimore.
I think Baltimore's a little bit ahead of them.
Their defense
is that that defense is insane. Kyle Hamilton's a dog. Their defensive line is stacked. Their rotation is ridiculous.
Off the rip, teams I'm putting ahead of Washington. Philadelphia,
sure.
Buffalo, Baltimore.
Yep.
That's it.
Not Kansas City.
No.
Interesting.
The mystique of KC is worn off.
Yeah, Travis Kelce did look old in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, look old
Looked
now.
Really not great.
Their receiving core is they added Jalen Royals to that mix. You're going to get a healthy Rashee Rice back. Xavier Worthy. Maybe I should chill on the Chiefs. So
I don't know. Take Rashee Rice's keys and maybe you got you got something.
Maybe you're cooking with gas. So teams that I definitively have ahead of Washington: Kansas City, Philadelphia, Buffalo, Baltimore. I would have Washington fit low key, bro. I put the LA Rams ahead of Washington as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you.
So I would say Washington is 6th, but I think they're 6th in a different order. I think LA is better than Detroit. I think LA is also better than Baltimore as well. This is why the offseason is absolutely great. You get to have these
just debate season,
real legit conversations. Oh, there's the loser.
Oh, no, that's mean.
No, I'm just joking.
You want me to turn off my mic so you can hear what you said again?
I said, well, there's the loser. Can you hear me again? I said, there's the loser. I was talking about your Giants, Matt, coming in ranked 32nd in ESPN's power rankings.
He said, you're so mean.
Well, I actually should be nice to him. He got me on Sirius XM College Radio this weekend.
Look at you.
Doing some more radio hits, getting the voice out there. So shout out to AMAC for that. You'll hear him and that caged animal, Chris Russell, coming
Who
up.
I have yet to see, by the way.
Yeah, he may still be recovering from his procedure that he had, so he may not be in studio today. I'm not sure. AMAC probably would know the answer to that question. He's the producer of the show. Anyways, like those are the teams that I would definitively put ahead of Washington. Grab line 1 for us real quick, Max. Am I wrong? Or is this power ranking too high or too low for Washington? 301-230-0980. I have them as the 6th best team in the National Football League. NFL.com has them as the 6th best team. ESPN.com has them as the 6th best team. Where do they actually rank? In my opinion, I think they're about 5th or 6th as well. The teams that I would definitively put ahead of Washington, no particular order: KC, Philly, Buffalo, in the Baltimore, and the LA Rams. So I would have them ranked 6th as well. What say you? 301-230-0980 is the number. Your calls. Are the Commanders ranked too high or too low in these post-draft power rankings?
All right. Yes, the news is true. The NFL draft will be coming to Washington, D.C. in 2027. Early reports indicate they intend to have the draft on the National Mall in front of the Washington Monument. The Washington Nationals take 2 off the Cincinnati Reds over the weekend. Last night, they win 4-1. C.J. Abrams continues his 10-game hit streak. Mackenzie Gore, 5 innings pitched, 1 earned run, and 9 strikeouts. Michigan head coach Sharon Moore will serve a school-mandated 2-game suspension to begin the 2025 college football season, all stemming from the Connor Stallion sign-stealing scandal in 2023. The New England Patriots have announced their intention to induct wide receiver Julian Edelman into their Hall of Fame. He is the 37th member inducted, and that will happen over the 2025 NFL season. This update is sponsored by the Team 980 YouTube page. Just open the app, type in the Team 980, and hit subscribe. Kevin Sheehan is live from 10 to 1, and Craig Hoffman from 4 to 7. Don't forget to like the stream and turn on notifications to stay up to date on all things DC sports. And that's what's trending.
One final segment to go. Before we hand things over to that caged animal, Chris Russell. He'll take you from 1 to 4 p.m. Eastern time. Craig Hoffman will take you on your afternoon drive home. So when the stream continues, I got a lot more to say before we get out of here, though. We're still
little time to say it.
I know. We're still taking your calls at 301-230-0980. How long has the song been going for? I'm out there, talking.
Not long at all.
Talking ball with
like 30 seconds.
With the Rooster Man.
He came in right on time.
He comes in dunking on Justin Fields immediately. You would think that he would have, first of all, AMAC, you asking Russell a question about the quarterbacks of his two favorite teams, talking about the Jets and the Giants, is like an absolute travesty. You should never ask him that. You're pitting him against, pitting his favorite guys against each other. Anywho, question we have on tap. Are the Commanders ranked too high or too low in these post-draft power rankings? Both ESPN and NFL.com have them ranked as the 6th best team in the National Football League. I happen to think that 6 is just right for where Washington should be. I'll repeat it if you're just tapping in. The teams that I think are definitively ahead of Washington at this point. No shout, no shadow of a doubt, no questions, no nothing. These 5 teams I think are clearly better than Washington right now. Kansas City, Philadelphia, Buffalo, Baltimore, and the LA Rams. Those are the 5 teams that I would, clearly put in front of Washington. The question remains, though, and I think we kind of talked about this a couple of times throughout the show. We sleep and forget about the impact that our quarterback makes on this football team. So you've improved everywhere around the quarterback. If the quarterback continues to take steps forward like we know and think he will, then I think this football team takes a sizable step forward as well. And you know what that may mean? If you're taking a sizable step forward, and last year you were in the conference title game, does that mean Super Bowl this year? We'll see. Anthony's in D.C. Wants to chime in. What's going on, Anthony?
Lynnell, this is what we're doing now?
What are we doing?
Power rankings. This is what we're doing now?
It's hot off the press, Anthony. What do you want from us?
Come on, man. Before we even know what the team's gonna look like, you sweating the power rankings.
You sound like Rick Dock.
Before the preseason.
You sound like the DOC right now. That's a good thing. But no, yeah, I'm talking power rankings because it matters to me at this point. It does.
Why?
Because I want to know how this team handles expectations. They snuck up on the rest of the league last year. Now that they have expectations, do they change the formula of the Kool-Aid? Are they putting 3 cups of sugar now instead of 2? Are they going to shake a leg or lose one now that they have expectations on them?
It's a bunch of opinions that don't mean a damn thing. You know that. We already know that the season is going to be harder just by virtue of the teams that they're playing and the quarterbacks that they're playing. They played what's the term I want to use? They played a loser's row of quarterbacks last year compared to what they're going to face this year. So it's automatically going to be tougher.
Yes.
So are we a better team? Yes, but that might not equate to a better record.
No, it may not, and that's okay. Because guess what? Now that we can start acting like the other good teams in the NFL, I'll be real with you. It's going to be really hard for me to care about the regular season. I can give a rat's ass about the regular season at this point. It's about postseason play. My best friend's an Eagles fan, and he tells me all the time, bro, like, oh, I hate the regular season because the Eagles always make it. They're always in the conversation. And it's like the regular season at this point is like child's play, right? Like we don't take it too seriously because we know what matters the most. I hope us as a fan base here in Washington, I hope we don't adopt that mentality. I hope the team doesn't adopt that mentality.
Well, I don't think we're going to go there yet. I mean,
but you get what I'm saying, though.
I get what you're saying. Last year was great, but I mean, we can only flex so much.
For sure.
You know, it's not like we've been winning for the last 10 years in a row. So we got to pull back a little bit on that. But I kind of agree with you and with the regular season, but in order to get to the postseason, you still got to be about business in the regular season. So we can't afford to take anything for granted. Like I said, better quarterbacks,
tougher schedule.
Yep.
Harder work. So,
Point blank. Appreciate you as always.
Go ahead. If you want to talk about power rankings when the rosters are set, okay, holler at me then.
I got you. Well, holler at you soon then. 301-230-0980 is the number. I guess that is we're slowly but surely creeping toward the end of the radio program. I'll give out some winners here before we go, because I'm that type of cat.
Be careful. He told me his picks, and I said I was going to fade him. So one of us is going to be right.
Well, yeah, one of us is going to be right. One of us is going to be wrong.
We could also just go 1-1.
Or we could also go 1-1. NBA postseason continues tonight. 2-game ones get underway. We had our first game one of the second round get underway yesterday. The Indiana Pacers take care of business against the Darius Garlandless Cleveland Cavaliers. Tyrese Halliburton and Andrew Nembhard are going to be the reason that that Pacers team advances to the Eastern Conference Finals for the second straight year. I'm already calling my shot in this one. Knicks and Celtics. The NBA playoffs, man, I always say it. There is pressure, right? If you don't reach expectations, if you don't meet expectations, there are going to be severe consequences that happen. Golf clap to the New York Knicks for getting past the Detroit Pistons, who no one expected to be there. So kudos to them for that. And they were without Beef Stew. I got Isaiah Stewart, so there's that. But the playoffs really start now for the Knicks. You didn't go out and trade for Karl Anthony Towns before the start of the regular season to get swept or gentlemen swept by Boston. Hell no. You didn't go out and acquire OG Anunoby, McCall Bridges to get spanked by Boston. So if you were the New York Knicks, you have to get the first, or draw first blood rather, in this series. I think Tom Thibodeau, depending on how this series finishes, could potentially be in trouble. I also think we can see the New York Knicks make a sizable move this offseason, depending on how short they ultimately come up against Boston. That being said, I'm actually going to pick the Knicks tonight to steal game one against Boston. Here's my formula for why. The Knicks just played a knock-em-out, drag-em-out brawl series against the Detroit Pistons. The Boston Celtics made quick work of the Orlando Magic, so I do not feel like that is something that, maybe we're talking about enough. As far as the Nuggets and Thunder are concerned, remember all the conversation and the panic button that was smashed in Denver after they fired Mike Malone toward the end of the regular season? The best duo right now in the postseason is Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. I also think that the upset happens in the second half of tonight's doubleheader as well. Give me Denver over the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't know if Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein are enough to slow down Nikola Jokic. Oh, you're telling me to go to the phones before we end the show? Why is that?
You just take the call.
Let's take the call.
Why do people call into the radio station and tell you, Lynnell, you're the host of the radio station last time I checked, and you decide what the topics are going to be. Say, why are you doing power rankings? Well, you got to talk about something. And they says to you, holler at me when the rosters are set up. No, he can call back into your show and holler at you because you're the host. So let me just correct that first, okay? And the second thing I'll say is they better have their big boy pants on this year. There is no more Cleveland Browns, and there's no more Tennessee to play. We're going to play the Chargers defense, the KC defense, Dallas defense that beat us up bad twice, Philly's defense. The list goes on and on. Detroit's going to be healthy, et cetera, et ccetera. Just one last thing. You got to remember, we were a healthy team for the most part last year. Brian Robinson was out here and there, and John Allen got hurt, but that didn't mean we didn't miss a beat on that. Let's see how they do if they start to hit the injury list hard this year. That's going to play a big factor in it, too, because we were a pretty healthy team for the most part last year.
For sure.
Keep doing your thing, Linus. You're doing all right.
Hey, I appreciate you, my follically challenged friend.
Love you, Ethan. I'll see you tomorrow.
That's right. You know it.
Your better half just walked into the studio and just doesn't give a rat's ass. We're live on YouTube here, Chris Russell. You're walking through the camera shots. All right.
Hey, you need to ask that man for his autograph. He is your mentor. He is the varsity of the station. You learn from him. You keep going. I'm telling you.
Athen, we love you. Say goodbye. The Chris Russell Show comes your way next.